You are about to learn 10 quiet strengths that you already carry but rarely use. These are practical abilities you can practice every day to get clearer, stronger, and calmer. Expect simple habits you can try right away and choices that change how you feel in your body and the results you get. Listen for small signs in your day like a steady breath, a clear thought, or the lift in your shoulders when a task gets easier. Notice how your mood shifts when you finish one focused minute instead of scrolling. This audiobook will show how to turn those small moments into steady progress. Each chapter teaches one skill with real steps to try, short exercises you can do immediately, and clear examples you can relate to. Some lessons will sharpen how you think, others will not see them coming. Others will help you recover faster when things go wrong. Stay with this recording all the way through and try at least one practice after each chapter. You will feel the difference physically and mentally. By the end, you will have a simple toolkit to use every day so life becomes more manageable and more meaningful. Chapter 1: Awaken your inner focus to achieve daily clarity. Awakening your inner focus is not just about concentrating on a task for a few minutes. It is about training your mind to operate at a level of clarity where distractions lose their grip and every action you take is deliberate and purposeful. This clarity is not something that appears magically. It is something you build consistently through conscious choices, disciplined routines, and an understanding of how your mind naturally works. Focus is the foundation of every achievement, the invisible force that allows ordinary moments to turn into extraordinary outcomes. Without it, even the best intentions become lost in the noise of daily life. Understanding how to awaken this power begins with observing your mind and taking responsibility for where your attention goes. Every thought, every distraction, and every impulse is an opportunity to practice mastery over yourself. Each time you intentionally direct your focus toward what truly matters, you are exercising a hidden power that you may have forgotten exists. The first step toward awakening your inner focus is awareness. You cannot control what you do not notice. Most people drift through their day, responding to notifications, impulses, and random thoughts without realizing that their attention has been hijacked. Being aware of when your mind wanders, what triggers it, and how quickly you return to what matters is crucial. Awareness is like a muscle. The more you practice noticing your distractions, the stronger your focus becomes. Start by observing your thoughts for just a few minutes each day. Notice when your mind jumps from one thing to another, when your attention is pulled by worry or curiosity, or when your energy dips. Write these observations down. The simple act of noting what distracts you, how often it happens, and what your response is, begins the process of reclaiming your mental power. Awareness without judgment is key. Do not berate yourself for losing focus. See it as data, as insight into the patterns that have been operating in your mind unnoticed. Once awareness is established, the next step is intentional action. Focus is not passive, it is an active engagement with your environment, your tasks, and yourself. One of the most practical ways to build this engagement is to structure your day around clear priorities. Identify the 3 most important tasks that will move your life forward today. These are not the small, reactive tasks that fill your inbox or your social media feed. These are the tasks that align with your values, your long-term goals, and your personal growth. By committing to these tasks first, you exercise focus on what truly matters. When you start the day with intention, your mind is not pulled in 100 different directions. Instead, it is anchored in purpose. Each action becomes meaningful because it is tied to a conscious decision rather than a reaction to external stimuli. Discipline plays a critical role in sustaining focus. Even when you know what matters, your mind will naturally seek comfort and distraction. Distractions are not merely external, they are internal. Thoughts about what you should have done, what others are doing, or what might happen later all compete for your attention. Discipline is the tool that allows you to acknowledge these distractions and gently return to the present task. A simple, practical approach to building this discipline is the practice of timed focus sessions. Choose a period such as 20, 5, or 50 minutes and commit to working on a single task with complete attention during that time. Silence your phone, close unnecessary tabs, and create a space where interruptions are minimized. At the end of the session, reflect on what you accomplished and how your focus felt. Over time, these sessions build the habit of concentrated attention. Your mind learns that it can operate deeply and effectively when guided intentionally. Clarity is closely tied to focus. When your attention is scattered, confusion follows. When your attention is concentrated, clarity emerges. One method to sharpen clarity is through the practice of journaling. Each morning or evening, spend 10 to 15 minutes writing down your thoughts, your intentions, and your reflections. Ask yourself questions that uncover what truly matters. What will make today meaningful? What challenges need my attention? What patterns in my behavior are holding me back? By externalizing your thoughts, you remove the fog that clouds judgment and replace it with a clear vision of priorities and action steps. Journaling is not just reflection, it is a way to train your mind to see clearly. Over time, the mental clutter that once seemed unavoidable diminishes. The mind begins to recognize the difference between noise and signal, between fleeting impulses and meaningful action. Another crucial element in awakening focus is managing energy. Focus cannot exist without energy. When your body is fatigued, hungry, or stressed, your mind struggles to hold attention. Paying attention to physical well-being is therefore a key part of mental clarity. Simple practices such as adequate sleep, balanced nutrition, and brief moments of physical activity can dramatically improve the quality of your focus. Hydration and proper breathing techniques also influence cognitive performance. Focus is not purely a mental skill, it is a physical state. Treat your body as the vessel that carries your mind, and you will notice a significant improvement in your ability to concentrate. Environmental factors play an equally important role. Your surroundings can either support or disrupt your focus. A cluttered workspace, constant noise, or a stream of digital interruptions weakens attention. Design your environment intentionally. Remove unnecessary objects, create a clean and organized space, and establish boundaries that protect your focus. This may mean setting specific times to check messages, using apps that block distracting websites, or simply signaling to others that you are in a focused state. Small changes in your environment can produce disproportionate results in your ability to sustain clarity. The environment you create is a reflection of your commitment to yourself and your goals. Focus is also strengthened through mindfulness practices. Mindfulness trains your mind to observe without judgment and return repeatedly to the present moment. A brief meditation of 5 to 10 minutes each day is sufficient to develop this skill. Sit quietly, notice your breath, and gently bring attention back whenever it wanders. The goal is not to eliminate thoughts, but to cultivate the habit of noticing and redirecting attention. Over time, this practice extends naturally into all areas of life. You become aware of when your mind is pulled away from meaningful work and can respond with calm and intention rather than reaction. Mindfulness is a daily exercise in reclaiming mental sovereignty. Emotional management is intertwined with focus. Strong emotions such as anxiety, anger, or excitement can hijack attention, pulling it away from tasks that require deliberate action. Recognizing and regulating emotions is therefore part of awakening clarity. When a strong emotion arises, pause and identify it. Ask yourself what triggered it, how it affects your attention, and what response will best serve your goals. By acknowledging rather than suppressing emotions, you maintain the ability to direct your focus consciously. Emotional mastery is not about eliminating feeling, it is about preventing it from controlling action. Consistency is the final pillar in building the power of focus. Awakening this hidden power is not a one-time event. It is the result of repeated effort, conscious practice, and steady progress. Each day presents an opportunity to exercise attention, make choices intentionally, and refine your ability to act with clarity. Set routines that support focus, track your progress, and celebrate small victories. Each successful day of concentrated effort compounds over time, producing results that are often invisible at first but undeniable over the long term. Focus is both a practice and a lifestyle. It shapes not only what you accomplish but who you become. Real-world application is where theory becomes transformation. Begin with a clear plan for the day, identifying the most important tasks and the specific time you will devote to them. Remove distractions before you start, including phones, notifications, and unnecessary noise. Commit to a single task at a time, observing your attention and gently bringing it back whenever it wanders. Take brief breaks to recharge energy and maintain awareness throughout the day. Journal reflections in the evening to consolidate learning, evaluate progress, and adjust for the following day. With this approach, focus ceases to be an abstract concept and becomes a tangible, daily skill that shapes reality. The benefits of awakening your inner focus extend far beyond productivity. Mental clarity allows for better decision-making, increased creativity, improved emotional regulation, and a greater sense of control over life. It reduces stress because you are no longer pulled in conflicting directions and increases confidence because actions are purposeful and intentional. Focus transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary by giving attention to what matters most. It is the gateway to mastery, the hidden power that once activated touches every aspect of life. Maintaining focus also cultivates resilience. When you are clear about priorities and capable of directing attention, external challenges lose their power to overwhelm you. Problems are approached logically rather than emotionally, distractions are navigated calmly, and progress continues steadily despite obstacles. The disciplined mind that has learned to focus becomes less reactive and more effective, navigating life with precision and purpose. Awakening inner focus is ultimately a practice of self-mastery. It requires observation, discipline, energy management, mindfulness, emotional control, and consistency. It demands that you take responsibility for your attention and recognize it as a resource that shapes your reality. Every time you consciously decide what to focus on, you exercise control over your mind, actions, and future. This is not a superficial skill, but a deep, life-changing power that, once remembered and cultivated, unlocks new levels of achievement and satisfaction. Practical steps to implement immediately include setting clear priorities each morning, establishing timed focus sessions, creating an organized environment, practicing mindfulness, managing energy through rest and nutrition, and journaling reflections. Combine these with awareness of emotional triggers and a commitment to consistent practice, and focus will no longer be elusive. It will become the natural state of your mind, guiding you through each day with clarity and purpose. True clarity arises not from avoiding challenges or distractions, but from choosing where your attention goes despite them. Every moment you spend intentionally focusing on what matters is a moment spent reclaiming the power you have always had but may have forgotten. As you strengthen this skill, you will notice decisions become easier, tasks are completed efficiently, and life feels more aligned with your values. Focus is not just a tool for productivity, it is a gateway to living intentionally, to cultivating discipline, and to awakening the hidden powers that transform ordinary life into something remarkable. The journey to awakening focus is ongoing. Each day brings new opportunities to practice, refine, and strengthen this power. The mind will wander, distractions will appear, and challenges will test your discipline. The difference is that with awareness, structure, and consistent practice, these obstacles become training rather than hindrance. The act of returning attention, of anchoring in purpose repeatedly, shapes character, builds resilience, and develops mastery over oneself. The practice of focus is therefore not only about achieving tasks, but about shaping the person capable of achieving greatness. Inner focus is not achieved by force, but by gentle, consistent effort. It grows through repeated attention, thoughtful reflection, and deliberate action. It thrives in a clear environment, a well-maintained body, and a disciplined mind. It is supported by routines, reinforced by mindfulness, and strengthened through the deliberate choice of what deserves attention. Each moment of intentional focus is an exercise in remembering your own power, a reclamation of a hidden strength that has always been within you. Ultimately, awakening your inner focus transforms the way you experience life. Moments become more vivid, decisions become more confident, and actions become more aligned with purpose. Challenges are met with calm clarity, and progress is the natural outcome of deliberate effort. The hidden power of focus is a gateway to mastering yourself, your actions, and your reality. It is a skill that, once developed, touches every area of life, producing results far greater than effort alone could achieve. The practice of focus is simple in concept but requires consistent dedication. Begin each day by identifying what matters most, prepare your environment to support attention, manage your energy, and commit to deliberate action. Observe distractions without judgment, return to the task, and reflect on your progress. Combine these habits with mindfulness, emotional awareness, and disciplined routines, and your inner focus will awaken naturally. Over time, what once required effort becomes second nature. Clarity becomes your default state, guiding choices and shaping outcomes in ways that feel effortless yet profoundly powerful. Awakening your inner focus is more than a skill, it is a transformation of how you engage with life. It is the recognition that attention is a resource, that clarity is a choice, and that every action becomes meaningful when aligned with purpose. The hidden power you are rediscovering is the ability to live intentionally, to act decisively, and to direct your energy toward what truly matters. It is a power that shapes your reality, strengthens your character, and builds the foundation for every other hidden power you will awaken. Focus is not merely the ability to concentrate, it is the ability to live consciously, deliberately, and fully in each moment. It is the practice of choosing what deserves attention, of acting with intention, and of cultivating clarity in a world designed to scatter your mind. The habits, practices, and insights outlined here provide the tools to reclaim this power and integrate it into daily life. Each exercise, reflection, and conscious choice compounds, producing results that grow exponentially over time. The hidden power of focus has always been within you. It requires no special talent, no extraordinary conditions, only consistent practice, awareness, and disciplined action. As you awaken this power, you will notice the world responding differently. Tasks that once seemed overwhelming become manageable. Decisions that once felt uncertain become clear. Life itself begins to feel less like a series of random events and more like a carefully directed journey. This clarity is the foundation for all the other powers you will awaken, the starting point for transformation that is real, lasting, and deeply satisfying. The path to awakening your inner focus begins with a single commitment to direct attention intentionally and consistently. Each day, through observation, disciplined action, and mindful reflection, you reclaim a hidden power that allows you to shape your reality and live with purpose. As you continue, focus will become more than a habit. It will become the lens through which you experience life, revealing opportunities, insights, and potential that were always present but previously overlooked. This power is yours to cultivate, strengthen, and live through every single day. Chapter 20: Unlock self-discipline to master consistent personal growth. Self-discipline is the cornerstone of personal growth. It is the ability to act in alignment with your long-term goals even when impulses, emotions, or external circumstances push you in a different direction. Without discipline, intentions remain ideas, dreams remain distant, and potential remains untapped. Discipline is not a trait reserved for a select few, it is a skill that can be developed, strengthened, and applied every single day. It begins with understanding that mastery over yourself is more valuable than any shortcut, reward, or temporary comfort the world offers. Every act of self-discipline, no matter how small, reinforces your capacity to shape your life deliberately. The first step in unlocking self-discipline is clarity of purpose. When the reasons for your actions are vague or undefined, motivation fluctuates and discipline becomes difficult to sustain. Take the time to identify what you truly want to achieve and why it matters. Write it down in clear, concrete terms. Understand the benefits of consistent action and the consequences of inaction. When your purpose is unmistakably clear, discipline becomes a natural response rather than a forced struggle. Purpose provides the direction and energy necessary to maintain consistency, especially when distractions or challenges arise. Consistency is the heartbeat of self-discipline. Personal growth is not achieved through sporadic bursts of effort, but through regular, repeated actions. Identify habits that align with your goals and commit to performing them daily, even in small ways. A simple action repeated consistently often produces more results than grand gestures performed irregularly. Discipline thrives in routines because routines reduce the need for decision-making and conserve mental energy for high-priority actions. Establish a morning or evening ritual that anchors your day, guiding your behavior and creating a predictable structure that supports your growth. Building self-discipline also requires mastering impulse control. Every day, countless distractions compete for your attention and energy. Social media, entertainment, unhealthy indulgences, and even well-intentioned interruptions can derail progress. Training yourself to pause before acting is essential. Ask whether the action aligns with your long-term goals. Delay gratification when necessary, recognizing that immediate pleasure often comes at the expense of meaningful progress. Discipline is not denial of enjoyment, but the intelligent prioritization of what yields lasting results over temporary satisfaction. Each moment you choose action over impulse, you reinforce the habit of control and strengthen the neural pathways that support sustained focus. Setting boundaries is another essential tool in cultivating discipline. Boundaries protect your energy and attention. They define what is acceptable and what is not, guiding your interactions with people, technology, and environments. Saying no to low-value requests or distractions is not selfish, it is a commitment to your own growth. Boundaries create the space necessary for consistent action and reinforce the discipline required to maintain momentum. Review your daily routines, identify what drains your focus, and take deliberate steps to eliminate or minimize those influences. Protecting your time and attention is as important as performing the tasks themselves. Accountability enhances discipline by providing external reinforcement for your internal commitment. When actions are monitored, tracked, or shared, it is harder to justify deviations from your intended course. Accountability can take many forms, including mentors, coaches, accountability partners, or even digital tools that track progress. Sharing goals with someone who will follow up ensures a higher likelihood of adherence. Regular reflection on progress reinforces a sense of responsibility, turning abstract intentions into measurable results. Accountability transforms discipline from a private struggle into a structured, supported practice. Self-discipline is intimately connected to emotional regulation. Emotions often dictate behavior, undermining intentions when stress, fear, or desire takes over. Developing discipline requires the ability to act thoughtfully, even in the presence of strong feelings. Techniques such as deep breathing, mindfulness, or brief pauses before responding help create space between emotion and action. Responding with deliberate choice rather than automatic reaction builds self-control and reinforces the habit of disciplined action. Emotional awareness is therefore not optional, it is an essential component of consistent growth. Focus and attention management are essential allies of discipline. Multitasking or fragmented attention weakens progress and increases mental fatigue. Concentrate on one task at a time, dedicating full mental energy to its completion. Eliminate unnecessary distractions, organize your workspace, and commit to completing tasks before moving on to new ones. The ability to sustain attention strengthens your self-discipline because it reduces the friction between intention and execution. Over time, disciplined focus becomes second nature, and productivity naturally rises without relying solely on willpower. Self-discipline is strengthened through incremental challenges. Growth occurs when you stretch beyond comfort zones and resist the urge to settle for ease. Begin with manageable actions and gradually increase difficulty. Completing tasks that require effort, restraint, or sustained attention reinforces your capacity for discipline. Success builds confidence, which in turn fuels further consistent action. The principle of progressive challenge ensures that discipline evolves as a skill rather than remaining stagnant or superficial. Each small victory compounds, forming a foundation for tackling more complex goals. Tracking progress is a powerful reinforcement mechanism. Keep a record of your actions, habits, and achievements. Documenting progress creates a visual representation of growth and provides motivation to maintain consistency. Reflection on what worked and what needs adjustment allows for continuous improvement. Discipline is maintained when progress is visible because it transforms abstract goals into tangible evidence of effort. Regular review of accomplishments, setbacks, and lessons learned strengthens commitment to the path of consistent personal growth. Self-discipline also involves mastering decision-making. Every choice you make either strengthens or weakens your long-term objectives. Be deliberate in your decisions, especially regarding habits, routines, and daily actions. Consider consequences before acting and prioritize options that advance your growth. Indecision, impulsivity, or reliance on external influences weakens discipline and delays progress. Training yourself to make prompt, rational, and purposeful decisions fosters confidence and creates a feedback loop where disciplined choices become habitual. Another crucial element is delayed gratification. The ability to prioritize long-term rewards over immediate pleasure separates those who achieve their goals from those who falter. Developing this skill requires recognizing that meaningful results are built over time, not instantly. Each act of patience reinforces neural pathways that support resilience, commitment, and consistent effort. Choosing action that benefits your future self over transient satisfaction strengthens the underlying structure of self-discipline and builds the foundation for enduring success. Understanding your triggers and weaknesses is essential for maintaining self-discipline. Everyone has habits, environments, or emotions that erode consistency. Identify what challenges your commitment and take proactive measures to mitigate their influence. This might involve adjusting routines, avoiding high-risk situations, or building alternative strategies that channel energy into productive outlets. Self-awareness of weaknesses allows you to anticipate challenges and respond effectively rather than reacting impulsively. Discipline is strengthened when potential obstacles are addressed preemptively. Motivation and discipline are not the same, but they work together. Motivation ignites action, while discipline sustains it when enthusiasm wanes. Relying solely on motivation is unreliable because it fluctuates with mood and external circumstances. Discipline bridges the gap between desire and accomplishment. Cultivate routines, habits, and frameworks that function independently of fluctuating motivation levels. Over time, the reliance on fleeting inspiration diminishes as consistent action becomes embedded in daily life. Discipline becomes the engine that drives progress even when motivation is absent. Environment and routine shape behavior more than willpower alone. Designing your surroundings to encourage disciplined behavior reduces the need for constant effort. Remove temptations, organize spaces for efficiency, and create systems that automatically guide desired actions. Small adjustments, such as preparing materials in advance, setting reminders, and establishing predictable schedules, increase the likelihood of consistent follow-through. Discipline is reinforced when your environment supports the actions required for growth, making consistency achievable without relying solely on mental struggle. Reflection and self-evaluation are essential for long-term development. At the end of each day, consider what actions aligned with your goals, which moments tested your discipline, and what adjustments are necessary moving forward. Reflection ensures that discipline is applied intelligently rather than mechanically. It converts experience into knowledge, mistakes into lessons, and actions into insight. A disciplined mind constantly refines itself, using feedback to enhance effectiveness and deepen personal growth. Self-discipline is ultimately a form of personal freedom. By mastering your impulses, emotions, and actions, you gain control over your time, energy, and direction. It frees you from the chaos of reactive living and empowers you to pursue meaningful goals consistently. Every act of disciplined behavior strengthens autonomy, builds character, and creates the capacity to achieve outcomes that once seemed unattainable. Freedom is earned through structure, restraint, and deliberate action, not by indulging every desire or surrendering to external pressures. Real-world application of self-discipline begins with small, deliberate actions that compound over time. Start by identifying one habit that directly supports your growth. Commit to practicing it daily, even for a short period. Remove distractions, schedule time for focused effort, and track your performance. Add incremental challenges to expand capacity. Introduce accountability by sharing progress with someone you trust. Reflect on results each week, adjusting strategies for improvement. Over time, these simple practices build a resilient framework for consistent personal growth that becomes self-sustaining. Discipline is reinforced when you connect actions to a larger vision of life. Understanding how each decision contributes to your overall growth strengthens commitment. Every task, no matter how mundane, has significance when viewed through the lens of long-term objectives. This perspective transforms effort into meaningful work rather than empty obligation. It also sustains energy and focus because actions are grounded in purpose rather than immediate gratification or external validation. Unlocking self-discipline requires patience. Mastery does not happen overnight. Progress emerges from repeated choices, conscious effort, and the accumulation of small victories. Recognizing that setbacks are part of the process prevents discouragement and reinforces perseverance. Discipline grows stronger when tested, and each challenge overcome becomes evidence of capability. Maintaining a long-term perspective ensures that consistent effort translates into substantial, lasting personal growth. Self-discipline is not an abstract ideal, it is a practical skill that can be applied in every area of life. Financial management, physical health, learning, professional growth, and relationships all benefit from deliberate, consistent action. Every time you resist distraction, follow through on commitments, or act with intention, you strengthen the foundation of personal growth. The habits and routines established through disciplined effort compound, producing results far beyond initial effort. Discipline transforms potential into tangible achievement. Ultimately, self-discipline is the bridge between desire and accomplishment. It converts goals into reality, ideas into action, and intentions into consistent progress. Every moment of deliberate choice, every act of resistance against distraction, and every repetition of constructive behavior reinforces the hidden power that exists within. Personal growth is not accidental. It is the product of persistent, disciplined action. Unlocking self-discipline allows you to live deliberately, act consistently, and shape your life according to purpose rather than impulse. By committing to the practices of awareness, routines, impulse control, emotional management, environment design, accountability, reflection, and incremental challenges, you cultivate a skill that transforms your daily life. The ability to act consistently in alignment with goals becomes second nature. Discipline becomes a habit, a mindset, and ultimately a defining characteristic. Mastery of this hidden power ensures that your growth is not left to chance but is intentionally created, maintained, and expanded over time. Chapter 3. Develop resilience to overcome every challenge confidently. Resilience is the skill of standing strong in the face of adversity and continuing to move forward when life presents obstacles. It is not the absence of struggle, but the ability to navigate difficulty without losing direction or purpose. Every person encounters setbacks, failures, and unexpected challenges, but what separates those who thrive from those who falter is the capacity to respond with determination and composure. Developing resilience is a conscious choice that requires attention, practice, and a mindset committed to growth. It begins with accepting that challenges are inevitable, and that the measure of your strength lies in how you respond to them. Each moment of adversity is an opportunity to strengthen your mental, emotional, and physical capacity. The first step in building resilience is cultivating a mindset that views challenges as temporary and manageable rather than permanent and overwhelming. When difficulty arises, it is natural for the mind to catastrophize, imagining worst-case scenarios and focusing on limitations. Resilient individuals recognize these thought patterns and intentionally reframe situations. Instead of seeing obstacles as barriers, they perceive them as opportunities to learn, adapt, and improve. Reframing challenges requires mental discipline and awareness, but it transforms stress into motivation and uncertainty into clarity. A strong sense of self-efficacy underpins resilience. Believing in your ability to overcome problems and handle difficulties is essential. Confidence grows from repeated experiences of facing adversity and emerging stronger. Begin with small challenges that stretch your capabilities slightly beyond your comfort zone. Each successful navigation of difficulty reinforces the belief that you can handle bigger challenges in the future. Self-efficacy is reinforced not by wishful thinking, but by consistent, deliberate action and reflection on past successes. Recognizing your capacity for growth and improvement solidifies your foundation for resilience. Resilience is strengthened by emotional regulation. When faced with hardship, emotions can intensify and cloud judgment. Fear, frustration, or anger may prompt reactive decisions that worsen the situation. Training yourself to observe emotions without immediately acting on them allows for thoughtful responses. Techniques such as deep breathing, counting to 10, or stepping away from the situation momentarily create space for rational action. Emotional awareness enables you to respond with clarity rather than react impulsively. Over time, this skill reduces the impact of stressors and enhances your ability to maintain composure in demanding circumstances. Adaptability is a critical component of resilience. Life rarely unfolds according to plan, and rigid thinking can create unnecessary suffering. Being adaptable means recognizing when strategies are ineffective and adjusting approaches without losing sight of the ultimate goal. Flexibility does not imply weakness. It reflects strength, intelligence, and the ability to preserve energy for meaningful action. Evaluate setbacks objectively, consider alternatives, and implement adjustments with confidence. Each adaptive response reinforces resilience, teaching the mind that change is navigable rather than threatening. Building resilience also involves establishing a support network. Connections with people who offer guidance, encouragement, or perspective provide a buffer against stress. Trusted individuals can help you process emotions, provide constructive advice, and remind you of your strengths during moments of doubt. While resilience is ultimately personal, no one grows entirely in isolation. Identifying and nurturing relationships that reinforce your determination and offer insight in times of difficulty strengthens your ability to persist through challenges. A clear sense of purpose drives resilient behavior. Individuals with defined goals and meaningful aspirations approach adversity differently than those without direction. When purpose guides action, setbacks become temporary interruptions rather than permanent roadblocks. Clarity about what you want to achieve fuels persistence, providing motivation to overcome obstacles rather than succumb to them. Writing down your goals and reflecting on why they matter deepens commitment and provides a mental anchor during turbulent times. Purpose transforms resilience from reactive endurance into proactive strength. Resilient individuals also cultivate patience. Not every problem resolves immediately, and many solutions require consistent effort over time. Impatience often leads to frustration, hasty decisions, or giving up too soon. Patience allows you to persist steadily, adapt intelligently, and maintain perspective. Viewing challenges as processes rather than instant outcomes reinforces stability and ensures that effort invested today contributes to meaningful results tomorrow. Discipline combined with patience produces sustainable resilience that withstands repeated tests. Physical well-being supports mental resilience. Stress and challenges place demands on both mind and body, and neglecting physical health weakens overall capacity. Regular exercise, adequate rest, balanced nutrition, and proper hydration enhance energy levels, improve mood, and increase endurance. When the body is strong, the mind operates more effectively under pressure. Physical routines also serve as a daily demonstration of consistency, building confidence that your ability to follow through extends beyond tasks into life itself. Resilience is reinforced through reflection. Reviewing past challenges, acknowledging how you overcame them, and analyzing lessons learned provides insight into personal strengths and growth areas. Reflection also helps you recognize patterns, anticipate potential obstacles, and prepare strategies for future difficulties. Writing down reflections or journaling about experiences solidifies lessons and strengthens problem-solving skills. Each reflection is an investment in mental preparedness, reinforcing the belief that you have successfully navigated challenges before and can do so again. Maintaining optimism enhances resilience. A positive perspective does not mean ignoring reality or pretending problems do not exist. Rather, It involves focusing on actionable solutions and possibilities instead of dwelling exclusively on difficulties. Optimism motivates constructive action, sustains energy during challenging periods, and prevents discouragement from undermining progress. Resilient individuals consciously cultivate a mindset that balances acknowledgement of obstacles with confidence in the ability to overcome them. This approach provides stability and enhances the likelihood of achieving outcomes despite adversity. Developing resilience also requires embracing responsibility. Externalizing blame for difficulties erodes personal power and delays growth. Taking ownership of your reactions, decisions, and actions reinforces agency and empowers proactive solutions. Responsibility does not imply fault for circumstances beyond your control. It emphasizes control over your response. Recognizing that you have authority over how you engage with challenges strengthens confidence, builds competence, and enhances the capacity to persist through adversity. Small, consistent actions contribute significantly to resilience. Tackling large problems incrementally prevents overwhelm and establishes momentum. Break challenges into manageable steps and commit to progressing one stage at a time. Success builds confidence, reduces anxiety, and reinforces the belief that obstacles are surmountable. Discipline applied consistently to each incremental step cultivates resilience more effectively than relying solely on motivation or bursts of effort. Momentum grows from persistence, producing measurable results that reinforce continued action. Learning from setbacks is a hallmark of resilience. Failure is inevitable, but how it is processed determines future success. Instead of viewing setbacks as evidence of inadequacy, analyze the situation objectively. Identify lessons, adjust strategies, and apply insights to future actions. Every mistake becomes a resource for growth when approached intentionally. Embracing setbacks as learning opportunities transforms adversity into a tool that strengthens your capacity to navigate challenges confidently. Visualization enhances resilience by preparing the mind for potential obstacles. Mentally rehearsing challenges and imagining effective responses equips you with strategies before adversity arises. Visualization reduces stress, increases confidence, and improves decision-making under pressure. By simulating difficult situations in advance, you develop familiarity with the experience and reduce fear of the unknown. The mind becomes trained to handle setbacks proactively rather than reactively. Resilient individuals maintain perspective. They recognize that hardships are temporary and that challenges often carry hidden opportunities. Viewing difficulties in context prevents exaggeration of problems and supports measured action. Perspective also enables focus on factors within your control rather than expending energy on uncontrollable circumstances. This approach fosters stability, reduces emotional turbulence, and enhances the effectiveness of problem-solving strategies. Consistency in applying these principles builds a resilient character over time. Daily choices, even small ones, compound to create a mindset capable of enduring significant challenges. Each instance of self-control, patience, reflection, and disciplined action contributes to a stronger foundation for handling future adversity. Resilience is not a fleeting trait, but a cultivated state of being that grows from sustained effort and conscious practice. Practical steps to strengthen resilience include establishing routines, maintaining physical health, creating a support network, practicing emotional regulation, setting clear goals, and reflecting regularly. Identify challenges proactively, break them into manageable steps, and act with patience and persistence. Track progress and review lessons learned. Reinforce optimism by focusing on solutions and opportunities. Assume responsibility for responses rather than circumstances. By applying these strategies consistently, resilience becomes ingrained, providing the confidence to face adversity without hesitation. Ultimately, resilience is the combination of mental, emotional, and physical capacity to remain effective, purposeful, and composed under pressure. It allows you to navigate life's uncertainties with confidence and continue pursuing meaningful goals despite setbacks. Each challenge you face is an opportunity to reinforce this skill. As resilience grows, obstacles that once seemed insurmountable become navigable, setbacks transform into lessons, and confidence emerges naturally. The hidden power of resilience enables you to approach life proactively, recover quickly from adversity, and maintain steady progress toward personal growth. Resilience is not just a response to hardship, it is a lifestyle that prepares you for every eventuality. It develops through awareness, intentional action, emotional regulation, adaptability, support, reflection, and consistent practice. Each act of perseverance, disciplined effort, and measured response strengthens the ability to thrive under pressure. The process is continuous, but every day presents an opportunity to build the capacity to overcome challenges with confidence and composure. When resilience becomes habitual, life is experienced differently. Challenges no longer induce panic, indecision, or despair. Problems are approached systematically, solutions are prioritized, and energy is directed toward constructive action. Confidence grows because the knowledge that you can endure and adapt has been repeatedly demonstrated through experience. The mind, body, and spirit become aligned to respond effectively, turning adversity into a proving ground for strength and capability. Chapter 40: Strengthen your intuition to make better life decisions. Intuition is not guesswork, and it is not something mysterious reserved for a few people. It is a practical inner signal built from experience, observation, and awareness. Every decision you make leaves behind information. Your mind stores patterns, emotional responses, outcomes, and consequences, even when you are not consciously analyzing them. Intuition is the ability to access that stored wisdom quickly and accurately. Strengthening intuition means learning to listen to what your inner awareness is already telling you instead of ignoring it or drowning it out with noise. Many people struggle with decisions not because they lack intelligence, but because they silence their intuition. They overthink, seek endless opinions, and delay action until clarity disappears. Intuition thrives in stillness, not chaos. The first step to strengthening it is creating mental space. When the mind is constantly busy, intuitive signals become harder to detect. Slowing down your thinking allows subtle insights to surface. This does not require isolation or long retreats. It requires moments of pause before decisions. A few quiet breaths before acting can reveal clarity that frantic thinking never will. Intuition improves when you learn to distinguish between fear and inner knowing. Fear is loud, urgent, and emotionally charged. It pushes you toward avoidance or rash action. Intuition is calm, steady, and grounded. It does not beg for attention, it waits to be noticed. When faced with a decision, observe how your body responds. Tightness, shallow breathing, and agitation often indicate fear. A sense of quiet certainty or calm awareness often signals intuition. Training yourself to notice these differences builds trust in your inner guidance. Experience is the raw material of intuition. Every success and failure adds data to your internal system. Instead of judging past decisions, study them. Ask what felt right, what felt wrong, and what signals were present before the outcome. Reflection sharpens intuition by teaching the mind which signals matter. When you consciously review experiences, intuition becomes more precise. This process turns mistakes into tools rather than regrets. Intuition strengthens when you reduce dependence on external validation. Constantly asking others what to do weakens confidence in your own judgment. While advice can be helpful, overreliance creates confusion. Different perspectives often conflict, leaving you disconnected from your own values. Practice making small decisions independently. Choose based on what aligns with your priorities rather than what pleases others. Each independent decision strengthens trust in yourself and refines your intuitive accuracy. Your physical state influences intuitive clarity more than most people realize. Fatigue, hunger, and stress distort perception. When the body is depleted, intuition becomes unreliable. Maintaining basic physical care supports mental clarity. Adequate rest, nourishment, and movement create a stable foundation for decision-making. Intuition is not separate from the body. It communicates through sensations, energy levels, and emotional responses. Ignoring physical well-being weakens access to these signals. Emotional awareness is essential for intuitive development. Suppressed emotions interfere with perception. When feelings are ignored, they resurface as confusion or impulsive behavior. Acknowledge emotions without letting them dominate decisions. Naming what you feel brings clarity. Intuition works best when emotions are recognized but not allowed to steer action blindly. Balanced awareness allows intuition to guide choices without distortion. Listening to intuition requires patience. It does not always provide immediate answers. Sometimes clarity emerges after reflection, rest, or distance from the situation. Forcing decisions often leads to regret. Allowing time creates space for inner signals to organize. This does not mean procrastination, it means deliberate timing. Learning when to wait is as important as knowing when to act. Intuition improves through honesty. Self-deception weakens inner guidance. When you avoid uncomfortable truths, intuition becomes muffled. Be honest about your motives, fears, and desires. Ask whether a choice aligns with long-term values or short-term comfort. Intuition responds to integrity. When actions match inner values, intuitive confidence grows stronger. Attention plays a critical role in intuitive strength. When attention is scattered, perception becomes shallow. Intuition requires presence. Focus fully on the decision at hand rather than multitasking or rushing. Presence allows subtle cues to register. A focused mind detects patterns, inconsistencies, and opportunities more accurately than a distracted one. Intuition is sharpened by learning from outcomes. After making decisions, review results without emotional bias. Ask whether the choice felt aligned and what feedback life provided. This process refines internal calibration. Over time, intuition becomes more reliable because it has been tested and adjusted through experience. Feedback strengthens discernment. Silence supports intuitive clarity. Constant noise prevents inner awareness from surfacing. Reduce unnecessary stimulation such as excessive media consumption or continuous background sound. Quiet moments allow subconscious processing to reach awareness. Intuition often appears during calm activities like walking, resting, or simple routines. Creating silence is not avoidance, it is preparation for clear insight. Writing supports intuitive development. Journaling decisions, thoughts, and outcomes creates a record of inner signals and results. Reviewing this record reveals patterns that strengthen confidence in intuitive judgment. Writing also slows thinking, allowing deeper insight to emerge. The act of putting thoughts on paper often clarifies what felt uncertain internally. Intuition strengthens when you trust it gradually. Blind trust can lead to mistakes, but gradual trust builds accuracy. Begin by following intuition in low-risk situations. Observe results. Adjust understanding. Over time, confidence grows through evidence rather than belief alone. This process removes doubt and replaces it with earned certainty. Fear of making the wrong decision weakens intuition. Perfectionism creates hesitation. Accept that no decision guarantees a flawless outcome. Intuition does not promise certainty, it offers alignment. Focus on choosing the best option with available information rather than seeking perfect assurance. Growth comes from action, not endless evaluation. Values anchor intuition. When values are unclear, decisions feel confusing. Clarify what matters most in your life. Decisions aligned with values feel lighter even when difficult. Intuition aligns naturally with values because it draws from your deepest priorities. Without clear values, intuition loses direction. Intuition improves when you observe others without judgment. Watching how people behave, speak, and act reveals patterns. These observations train your subconscious to detect consistency or deception. Over time, intuition becomes sharper in social situations because it recognizes behavioral signals quickly and accurately. Stress management is essential. Chronic stress narrows perception and reduces intuitive accuracy. Simple stress reduction practices restore balance. Calmness improves signal clarity. Intuition operates best in a steady internal environment rather than constant pressure. Confidence grows through action. Each decision made with awareness reinforces trust in your judgment. Avoid excessive delay. Choose deliberately, act responsibly, and learn from outcomes. Intuition strengthens through use, not avoidance. Intuition is not opposed to logic. The strongest decisions combine both. Logic analyzes available facts while intuition interprets deeper patterns. Use logic to gather information and intuition to choose direction. Together they produce balanced, effective decisions. Respecting intuition means accepting its guidance even when it challenges comfort. Sometimes inner knowing pushes you away from familiarity toward growth. Resistance often signals that intuition is pointing toward necessary change. Courage strengthens intuitive alignment. Strengthening intuition is a continuous practice. It develops through awareness, honesty, patience, reflection, and trust. Each day offers opportunities to listen more carefully and respond more wisely. Intuition grows stronger when treated as a skill rather than a mystery. When intuition becomes reliable, decisions feel calmer, doubt decreases, confidence increases, life choices align more closely with purpose. Mistakes become lessons rather than failures. Inner guidance becomes a steady companion rather than an ignored voice. Intuition is already within you. Strengthening it requires attention, respect, and practice. By slowing down, observing honestly, managing emotions, and acting with integrity, you unlock a powerful internal guide. This guide does not shout, it waits. When you learn to listen, decisions become clearer, actions become aligned, and life moves forward with greater confidence and direction. Chapter 5: Why harness patience to achieve long-term meaningful goals. Patience is not waiting without action, and it is not passive endurance. Patience is the ability to stay committed to a direction even when results are slow, unclear, or delayed. Most people abandon meaningful goals not because they lack ability, but because they underestimate the time required for real change. When expectations are unrealistic, frustration grows quickly. Harnessing patience means aligning your mindset with the reality that worthwhile outcomes demand sustained effort over time. It is the discipline to keep moving forward without demanding immediate proof that your efforts are working. Modern life encourages urgency. Everything pushes for speed, instant response, and quick results. This environment trains impatience and weakens long-term thinking. Patience restores balance by shifting focus from outcomes to process. When attention is placed solely on results, discouragement follows delays. When attention is placed on daily actions, progress continues regardless of visible rewards. Learning to value effort over immediate payoff transforms how you experience growth. Each day becomes meaningful because it contributes to something larger, even if progress is not yet visible. Long-term goals require trust in the process. This trust is built through understanding how growth actually works. Skills, habits, relationships, and character develop gradually. They strengthen through repetition, correction, and time. Expecting fast results creates unnecessary pressure and leads to quitting too early. Patience allows room for adjustment and learning. It accepts that setbacks are part of progress rather than evidence of failure. This mindset prevents emotional burnout and keeps momentum alive during slow periods. Patience is strengthened by setting realistic timelines. Vague or overly ambitious deadlines create disappointment. Clear timelines based on consistent effort foster stability. Break long-term goals into phases rather than deadlines. Focus on completing the next phase well instead of racing toward the final outcome. This approach reduces anxiety and improves consistency. Progress becomes measurable through actions completed rather than outcomes achieved. Emotional regulation plays a major role in patience. Frustration, doubt, and impatience often arise when expectations conflict with reality. Instead of resisting these emotions, acknowledge them without acting impulsively. Impulsive decisions made under frustration often undermine long-term goals. Pausing before reacting creates space for rational response. Emotional awareness allows patience to guide behavior rather than emotional urgency. Patience grows through acceptance of uncertainty. Long-term goals rarely follow predictable paths. Unexpected obstacles, delays, and changes are normal. Resisting uncertainty wastes energy and increases stress. Accepting uncertainty allows flexibility. When plans shift, patience enables adaptation without abandoning direction. This adaptability keeps progress alive even when circumstances change. Consistency strengthens patience. Small actions performed regularly reduce the need for constant motivation. When habits are stable, progress continues regardless of mood or external conditions. Patience thrives in routine because routine reduces emotional dependence on immediate results. Each completed action reinforces commitment and builds confidence in the process. Patience is supported by perspective. Short-term discomfort often leads to long-term benefit. Viewing effort through a long-term lens reframes discomfort as investment. Every disciplined action contributes to future outcomes, even when results are delayed. Perspective prevents discouragement by reminding you why the effort matters. Comparison weakens patience. Observing others' progress creates false expectations. Each path is unique, shaped by different conditions, resources, and timing. Comparing timelines distracts from personal progress and fuels impatience. Focus on your own actions and improvements. Progress measured against your past self builds patience and confidence. Patience improves decision-making. Rushed decisions prioritize speed over quality. Deliberate choices consider consequences and long-term impact. Slowing down decision-making reduces regret and aligns actions with values. Patience allows thoughtful evaluation rather than emotional reaction. Self-trust supports patience. Doubt often triggers impatience. When trust in yourself is weak, results are demanded quickly for reassurance. Strengthening self-trust reduces the need for immediate validation. Trust grows through keeping commitments to yourself, even small ones. Each fulfilled commitment reinforces belief in your ability to follow through over time. Patience is reinforced by separating effort from outcome. Outcomes depend on many factors beyond control. Effort is always within control. Focusing on effort prevents discouragement when outcomes are delayed. Success becomes defined by consistency rather than speed. This shift stabilizes motivation and sustains long-term progress. Long-term goals often require delayed gratification. Resisting immediate comfort in favor of future benefit strengthens patience. Each act of restraint builds tolerance for waiting. This tolerance allows sustained effort without emotional exhaustion. Delayed gratification becomes easier with practice and clear purpose. Patience requires managing internal dialogue. Negative self-talk accelerates impatience. Thoughts that demand instant results undermine persistence. Replace urgency-driven thinking with realistic reminders. Progress is happening even when it is not visible. Repeating grounded affirmations reinforces patience during slow phases. Patience is developed by observing natural processes. Growth in nature is gradual and uninterrupted by urgency. Studying these processes reinforces understanding that meaningful development takes time. This observation grounds expectations and reduces frustration. Accountability supports patience. Tracking progress over weeks and months reveals gradual improvement that daily observation might miss. Visible evidence of consistency strengthens commitment. Reviewing long-term patterns restores confidence during periods of doubt. Patience deepens when goals are aligned with values. Goals driven by external pressure feel urgent and draining. Goals aligned with personal values feel steady and meaningful. Value-based goals sustain effort without constant emotional reward. Patience becomes natural when purpose is clear. Learning to rest without quitting strengthens patience. Rest restores energy without abandoning direction. Distinguishing between rest and avoidance prevents burnout. Strategic rest supports long-term consistency rather than interrupting progress. Patience improves resilience. When delays occur, patient individuals remain steady rather than reactive. They adjust strategies without abandoning goals. This stability allows continuous improvement despite obstacles. Patience also enhances discipline. Discipline without patience becomes rigid and exhausting. Patience without discipline becomes passive. Together they create sustainable progress. Discipline ensures action. Patience ensures endurance. Real progress often feels slow because growth happens internally before external results appear. Skills develop before recognition. Strength builds before performance. Character forms before achievement. Patience allows internal growth to mature fully. Harnessing patience requires daily practice. Choose actions that align with long-term goals. Release attachment to immediate outcomes. Measure success through consistency. Accept uncertainty. Reflect regularly. Adjust thoughtfully. Continue steadily. Over time, patience transforms effort into mastery. What once required struggle becomes natural. Confidence grows because progress is earned rather than rushed. Goals become achievable because commitment remains intact. Patience is not weakness, it is controlled strength. It allows you to outlast difficulty, endure uncertainty, and stay focused without emotional exhaustion. It protects long-term vision from short-term distraction. When patience becomes habitual, life slows internally even when external demands increase. Decisions improve, stress decreases, progress becomes sustainable. Long-term goals move from distant ideas to achievable realities. Patience ensures that meaningful goals are not abandoned during slow seasons. It keeps direction steady when motivation fluctuates. It transforms effort into lasting results. Harnessing patience is choosing depth over speed. It is committing to growth that lasts rather than progress that fades. Through patience, meaningful goals are achieved not through force, but through steady, deliberate persistence. Chapter 60. Expand gratitude to transform your mindset positively. Gratitude is not a polite habit or a surface-level expression of appreciation. It is a disciplined way of seeing reality clearly. When practiced intentionally, gratitude reshapes how the mind interprets events, experiences, and challenges. It does not deny hardship or discomfort. Instead, it trains the mind to recognize value even within difficulty. A grateful mindset does not ignore problems. It prevents problems from dominating perception. This shift changes how you experience life on a daily basis. Most mental suffering comes from fixation on what is missing, delayed, or imperfect. The mind naturally scans for threats, losses, and unmet desires. Gratitude interrupts this pattern by redirecting attention toward what is present, functional, and meaningful. This redirection is not forced optimism. It is deliberate awareness. By choosing where attention rests, you regain control over emotional reactions and mental energy. Expanding gratitude begins with recognizing that perception shapes experience. Two people can face the same situation and interpret it entirely differently. One feels defeated, the other finds value. Gratitude trains perception to notice what supports you rather than only what challenges you. This does not change circumstances immediately, but it changes how you move through them. Gratitude becomes powerful when it is practiced consistently rather than occasionally. Waiting for life to improve before feeling grateful places gratitude outside your control. Practicing gratitude regardless of circumstances places emotional stability within reach. The mind learns that peace does not depend entirely on external conditions. A practical way to develop gratitude is through daily acknowledgement. At the start or end of the day, identify specific things that supported you. These do not need to be dramatic achievements. Simple details matter. Physical health that allows movement, access to learning, a moment of quiet, completion of a task. Each acknowledgement reinforces awareness of stability and progress. Gratitude also improves emotional regulation. When frustration arises, gratitude creates space between stimulus and reaction. It slows emotional escalation and restores perspective. This pause allows rational thought to guide response rather than impulse. Over time, emotional reactions become less extreme because the mind remains grounded in awareness of what is already working. Gratitude strengthens resilience. When challenges appear, a grateful mindset prevents collapse into helplessness. Instead of viewing difficulty as total failure, gratitude reveals what remains intact. This awareness supports steady action rather than panic. Gratitude becomes an anchor during uncertainty. Expanding gratitude requires honesty. Forced gratitude feels artificial and ineffective. Genuine gratitude comes from accurate observation. Acknowledge struggles while also recognizing support systems, lessons, and growth. Gratitude does not erase pain. It balances perception. Gratitude improves relationships. Appreciation expressed sincerely strengthens trust and cooperation. Recognizing others' contributions encourages positive interaction. Gratitude also reduces resentment by shifting focus away from unmet expectations. Relationships improve when appreciation outweighs criticism. Gratitude sharpens focus. When the mind fixates on lack, attention scatters. Gratitude grounds attention in what is real and present. This grounding improves concentration and decision-making. A calm mind processes information more effectively than an anxious one. Gratitude supports long-term goals. It reinforces patience by highlighting progress rather than delay. Recognizing small improvements maintains motivation during slow phases. Gratitude reminds you that growth is occurring even when results are incomplete. Expanding gratitude requires discipline. The mind resists change and returns to familiar patterns of complaint or dissatisfaction. Redirecting attention repeatedly strengthens new mental habits. Over time, gratitude becomes automatic rather than forced. Gratitude also reduces comparison. When attention is focused on what others have, dissatisfaction increases. Gratitude shifts focus inward toward personal progress and resources. This internal orientation builds confidence and contentment. Gratitude enhances self-respect. Acknowledging your own effort reinforces self-trust. Recognizing discipline, consistency, and progress builds internal validation. This reduces dependence on external approval. Gratitude improves stress management. Stress narrows perception. Gratitude broadens it. By identifying stability during pressure, the nervous system relaxes. This relaxation improves problem-solving and emotional balance. Gratitude is strengthened through reflection. Reviewing the day reveals moments that might otherwise be overlooked. Reflection converts experience into awareness. Over time, the mind becomes trained to notice positive elements naturally. Gratitude does not require perfection. It exists alongside imperfection. Accepting flaws while appreciating effort prevents self-criticism from undermining growth. Gratitude supports self-compassion without complacency. Expanding gratitude also involves releasing entitlement. Expecting life to meet every desire creates dissatisfaction. Gratitude restores balance by appreciating what is received rather than demanding more. This mindset reduces frustration and improves emotional stability. Gratitude enhances adaptability. When situations change, gratitude helps identify opportunities rather than losses. This flexibility supports problem-solving and resilience. Gratitude improves physical well-being indirectly. Reduced stress improves sleep, energy, and focus. A calm mental state supports healthy routines. Gratitude requires presence. It cannot exist in constant distraction. Slowing down allows awareness to surface. Presence reveals details worth appreciating. Gratitude transforms ordinary moments. When attention is sharpened, simple experiences become meaningful. This reduces the need for constant stimulation and external reward. Gratitude also strengthens moral character. It fosters humility by recognizing that progress is supported by factors beyond individual control. This humility encourages ethical behavior and balanced judgment. Gratitude supports learning. Recognizing mistakes as lessons rather than failures improves growth. Gratitude for learning opportunities transforms setbacks into development. Expanding gratitude includes appreciating challenges. Difficulty builds skills and character. Recognizing this truth reduces resistance to effort. Gratitude improves confidence. When the mind acknowledges resources and progress, fear diminishes. Confidence grows from awareness of capability rather than wishful thinking. Gratitude strengthens consistency. When effort is appreciated, repetition becomes sustainable. Gratitude prevents burnout by recognizing value in routine. Gratitude also improves clarity. When emotional noise decreases, thinking becomes sharper. Clear thinking leads to better decisions. Expanding gratitude requires intentional practice. Choose moments to pause and observe. Identify what supports you. Acknowledge effort. Appreciate progress. Repeat consistently. Gratitude becomes transformative when it reshapes identity. You begin to see yourself as capable, supported, and progressing. This identity influences behavior naturally. Gratitude does not eliminate ambition, it refines it. Goals remain important, but urgency softens. This balance improves persistence. Gratitude improves self-control. When contentment increases, impulsive behavior decreases. Satisfaction reduces the need for distraction. Gratitude strengthens patience by highlighting long-term benefits. It supports resilience by maintaining perspective. It supports discipline by reinforcing purpose. Gratitude becomes a foundation for mental strength. It stabilizes emotion, clarifies thought, and supports consistent action. Over time, gratitude reshapes mindset permanently. Complaints decrease. Awareness increases. Emotional balance improves. Life becomes less reactive and more intentional. Challenges are met with steadiness. Progress feels meaningful rather than forced. Expanding gratitude is choosing to see reality fully rather than selectively. It is recognizing strength alongside struggle, progress alongside imperfection. Gratitude transforms mindset by training the mind to notice what matters. Through this practice, emotional stability grows, motivation deepens, and daily life becomes more grounded and purposeful. Gratitude is not a conclusion. It is a daily discipline. Practiced consistently, it becomes a quiet source of strength that supports every other aspect of personal growth. Chapter 7a Activate courage to face fears without hesitation. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act while fear is present. Fear is a natural response designed to protect you, but when it controls your choices, it limits growth, confidence, and opportunity. Activating courage means reclaiming authority over your actions instead of allowing fear to dictate behavior. This shift does not happen through motivation alone. It happens through understanding fear, training response, and practicing deliberate action. Fear often feels overwhelming because it is vague. The mind amplifies uncertainty and imagines outcomes without evidence. Courage begins by making fear specific. When you identify exactly what you are afraid of, its power weakens. Fear thrives in ambiguity. Clarity exposes its limits. Naming the fear brings it into the open, where it can be evaluated rationally rather than emotionally. Most fears are not about immediate danger. They are about discomfort, rejection, failure, or judgment. These experiences are unpleasant but not harmful. Courage grows when you recognize the difference between real risk and perceived threat. This recognition allows the nervous system to calm and the mind to regain balance. Courage is a skill, not a personality trait. It develops through repeated exposure to discomfort paired with controlled action. Each time you act despite fear, confidence increases slightly. Over time, this accumulation changes self-perception. You begin to see yourself as capable of handling difficulty rather than avoiding it. Avoidance strengthens fear. Every time you retreat, the mind learns that fear is something to escape. This reinforces anxiety. Courage reverses this pattern. Facing fear teaches the brain that discomfort is survivable. The nervous system adapts. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. Courage requires intention. Waiting to feel ready rarely works. Readiness often follows action, not the other way around. Acting before confidence feels complete is part of the process. Courage is built by moving forward while uncertainty remains. Fear often disguises itself as logic. The mind produces reasons to delay, postpone, or withdraw. Courage requires questioning these internal arguments. Ask whether hesitation is truly protecting you or simply maintaining comfort. Honest evaluation reveals that many excuses serve fear rather than growth. Courage improves decision-making. When fear dominates, choices become reactive. When courage leads, decisions align with values and long-term goals. Courage shifts focus from short-term relief to long-term progress. Courage also strengthens self-trust. Each act of bravery reinforces belief in your ability to cope. This trust reduces anxiety in future situations. Confidence grows not from success alone, but from evidence that you can endure challenge. Fear is often linked to identity. People fear acting because they worry about how others will perceive them. Courage involves loosening attachment to external validation. When your sense of worth is internal, fear of judgment loses influence. Courage does not require recklessness. It involves calculated risk, thoughtful preparation, and purposeful action. Courage respects reality while refusing to be limited by imagined catastrophe. Courage grows through small steps. You do not need dramatic gestures. Simple actions taken consistently reshape behavior. Speaking when you would normally stay silent. Trying when you would normally quit. These moments compound into strength. Courage is supported by discipline. When action becomes routine, fear has less opportunity to intervene. Structure reduces hesitation. Habits create momentum that carries you through uncertainty. Courage also benefits from perspective. Most feared outcomes are temporary. Embarrassment fades. Failure teaches. Discomfort passes. Remembering the impermanence of fear reduces its intensity. Courage improves emotional regulation. Acting despite fear prevents emotional buildup. Suppressed fear grows stronger. Addressed fear diminishes. Courage clears emotional congestion. Courage enhances adaptability. When you face uncertainty regularly, change becomes less intimidating. Flexibility increases. You become comfortable operating without complete control. Courage strengthens leadership. People trust those who act decisively under pressure. Courage inspires confidence in others. Even quiet courage sets an example through consistency and integrity. Courage supports creativity. Fear restricts expression. Courage allows experimentation. Innovation requires tolerance for uncertainty and imperfection. Courage also improves learning. Trying new skills involves mistakes. Courage reframes mistakes as part of progress rather than evidence of inadequacy. Courage deepens resilience. When setbacks occur, courageous individuals recover faster because they are accustomed to discomfort. They view difficulty as manageable rather than overwhelming. Courage requires presence. Fear often projects into the future. Courage grounds attention in the present moment. Acting now prevents imagination from escalating anxiety. Courage improves communication. Honest expression requires vulnerability. Courage allows truth to be spoken respectfully and clearly. Courage also reduces regret. Avoidance often leads to long-term dissatisfaction. Courage leads to experience growth and clarity, even when outcomes are imperfect. Courage strengthens autonomy. When fear loses control, you reclaim choice. Life becomes intentional rather than reactive. Courage requires self-compassion. Progress is not linear. Some days fear will feel stronger. Acknowledge effort without harsh judgment. Compassion sustains courage. Courage is reinforced through reflection. Recognizing moments of bravery builds confidence. Awareness of progress motivates continued action. Courage improves mental clarity. Fear clouds judgment. Action restores focus. Moving forward simplifies decisions. Courage also supports integrity. Acting in alignment with values requires bravery. Courage allows you to remain consistent even under pressure. Courage grows when you accept uncertainty as unavoidable. Waiting for certainty delays life. Courage moves forward despite incomplete information. Courage transforms fear into feedback. Fear highlights areas of growth. Instead of avoiding these areas, courage engages them intentionally. Courage strengthens patience. Facing fear repeatedly builds tolerance for discomfort over time. This tolerance supports long-term goals. Courage improves emotional strength. Each brave action reinforces inner stability. Emotional resilience grows through exposure and adaptation. Courage does not eliminate fear permanently. It changes your relationship with it. Fear becomes a signal rather than a barrier. Courage becomes identity through repetition. You begin to see yourself as someone who acts despite fear. This identity influences future behavior naturally. Courage empowers progress. It unlocks opportunities that avoidance blocks. Growth accelerates when fear no longer controls decisions. Courage also enhances gratitude. Facing fear reveals strength and support you may have overlooked. Appreciation grows alongside bravery. Courage sharpens awareness of priorities. Fear clarifies what matters. Courage acts on those priorities instead of retreating. Courage transforms hesitation into momentum. Once action begins, energy follows. Motion reduces anxiety. Courage supports long-term confidence. Confidence built through courage is stable because it is based on experience rather than belief. Courage is a daily practice. Each decision offers a choice between comfort and growth. Choosing growth strengthens character. Courage becomes quieter over time. What once required effort becomes normal. Fear loses volume as confidence increases. Courage does not demand perfection, it values effort. Acting imperfectly is better than not acting at all. Courage aligns life with intention. When fear no longer dictates choices, actions reflect values and goals. Activating courage is committing to movement despite uncertainty. It is choosing action over avoidance, clarity over imagination, and growth over comfort. Practice consistently. Courage becomes a steady force that carries you through fear without hesitation and opens the path to meaningful progress. Chapter 8. Sharpen observation to understand people and situations clearly. Observation is a practical skill that transforms vague impressions into reliable information and clear choices. Seeing what is actually happening requires slowing down thinking enough to notice details that others miss. This skill begins with a simple commitment to record reality as it appears rather than immediately interpreting or judging it. Train the mind to separate pure description from explanation. Describe what you see in concrete terms before adding meaning to it. Saying what happened first and why you think it happened second creates a disciplined habit that prevents assumptions from becoming facts. Start with the environment. Notice lighting, sound, and spatial arrangement because physical context influences behavior and mood. A room that is crowded and noisy produces different interactions than a calm, tidy space. Learn to read these conditions quickly so you can anticipate likely responses from people in those settings. Observe where people position themselves physically because distance and orientation reveal comfort level and intent. Small changes such as leaning forward, turning away, or angling the body toward an exit carry useful information when interpreted carefully. Listen with intent. Words are only one part of communication. The way something is said often reveals more than its content. Pay attention to tone, volume, pace, and pauses. A pause can indicate thoughtfulness, hesitation, or discomfort depending on context. A steady, calm voice often accompanies confidence, while a high, quick tone may signal nervousness. Match these auditory cues with facial expression and body language to form a fuller picture before concluding what a person intends. Watch facial micro-expressions and eye movement. Brief glimpses of emotion cross the face faster than deliberate expression, and they can expose genuine feeling. Notice whether someone's smile reaches their eyes or remains only at the mouth. Track brief shifts in eyebrow position or tightening around the mouth. Don't treat a single micro-expression as decisive evidence, but collect several consistent signals before acting on them. This reduces the chance of misreading a momentary reaction. Observe baseline behavior so deviations stand out. Spend time with people long enough to understand how they normally act. When someone usually speaks slowly and suddenly becomes rapid, that change is itself information. Build a mental record of how environments and individuals typically behave so that anomalies become meaningful. This creates a reference system to test hypotheses rather than relying on impressions that lack context. Practice active listening by paraphrasing what someone has communicated in your own words and asking whether your summary is accurate. This both validates your understanding and invites correction. When people confirm or adjust your paraphrase, you gain direct feedback on your observational accuracy. Use open-ended questions to encourage fuller disclosure instead of leading questions that bias responses. Observational skill improves fastest when you constantly compare your assumptions to real feedback. Record observations in short notes. A brief field journal helps clarify thought and prevents memory distortion. Write down factual details such as exact words, gestures, the order of events, and timing. Later review these notes to identify patterns and relationships you may have missed in the moment. Over time, the journal becomes a training archive revealing how often your initial interpretations matched outcomes. That feedback loop is essential for improving accuracy. Test small hypotheses publicly and watch reactions. If you think someone is uncomfortable, try adjusting your behavior gently and observe the response. Offer a lighter topic or a different seating arrangement and note whether stress signals decrease. Small experiments teach calibration without risking large consequences. Use the scientific approach, observe, form a hypothesis, act, and then measure outcomes. This method replaces guessing with disciplined inquiry. Control your own expressions and posture to avoid contaminating the data. People respond to you as much as to their environment. If you are tense, hurried, or visibly distracted, those signals will alter others' behavior and obscure the original situation. Adopt a neutral posture and a relaxed breathing pattern so your presence does not become the dominant variable. This creates clearer conditions for observing others. Learn to read clusters of signals rather than single cues. A single gesture or phrase is easily misleading. When several independent signals align, a clearer conclusion emerges. For example, crossed arms alone might indicate cold, while crossed arms combined with tightened jaw and avoidance of eye contact more likely indicate resistance. Train yourself to map multiple indicators to stronger inferences and always maintain humility about certainty. Practice silent observation in public places as a regular exercise. Sit in a cafe or a park for 20 or 30 minutes and focus on simply describing interactions without crafting stories about them. Note posture, speech volume, who initiates conversation, where people sit, and how groups disperse. This discipline strengthens attention to detail and reduces the reflex to create narratives without evidence. Refine emotional literacy by naming feelings you observe. Labeling emotions improves clarity because words anchor vague impressions. Describe whether someone appears frustrated, amused, concerned, or distracted, and then link that label to observable evidence. The habit of naming emotion based on behavior prevents projection of your own mental states onto others. Use pacing and mirroring carefully to test report, subtly aligning your posture, breathing, and speech tempo with another person builds comfort when done genuinely. If mirroring produces relaxation and more open communication, it confirms that rapport has increased. If mirroring creates discomfort, back off and reassess. These moderated techniques are tools for understanding and influencing situations ethically. Notice inconsistencies between what is said and how it is said. When words promise enthusiasm but body language signals reluctance, that gap is important. Investigate gently through questions and observation rather than confrontation. People often resolve that gap when invited to explain their true position, which reveals deeper information about motives and constraints. Observe time patterns and rhythms in interactions. Meetings that repeatedly go off course or people who consistently interrupt reveal organizational dynamics and power relations. Identifying recurring timing issues exposes structural rather than individual problems, which suggests different modes of response. Frequency and timing are often as revealing as content. Strengthen memory by practicing recall. After an interaction, pause and try to reconstruct the sequence of events and details before writing anything. Train mental reconstruction with increasing delay to improve retention. Better memory enhances observation because accurate recall allows for comparison across encounters and more reliable pattern recognition. Guard against confirmation bias by actively seeking disconfirming evidence. When a story about someone or a situation seems to fit your expectations, search for data that would contradict it. If you desire a particular outcome, you may unconsciously collect supportive signals and ignore or explain away contrary signs. Purposefully looking for mismatch prevents self-deception and sharpens judgment. Cultivate curiosity rather than judgment. Curiosity asks what and how, while judgment leaps to why and who is at fault. A curious stance opens channels for learning and makes people more willing to reveal information. Judgment closes them. Training yourself to ask genuine information, seeking questions while withholding blame will yield richer observational data. Balance empathy with analytical distance. Understanding others' feelings creates connection, but excessive empathy can cloud objectivity. Use empathy to gather context and analytical distance to test hypotheses. This dual approach preserves compassion while protecting accuracy. Learn to read systems as well as people. Situations are shaped by rules, incentives, and constraints. Notice policy signage, workflow rhythms, formal roles, and habitual procedures, because these elements influence behavior profoundly. Understanding the system reduces misattribution of causes to personality when structural factors are at play. Practice translating observations into simple, actionable conclusions. After watching an interaction, ask what immediate small step would improve the situation. Maybe rearrange seating, clarify roles, or reduce noise. Action based on observation completes the learning cycle and produces rapid feedback on the quality of your interpretations. Develop the discipline of periodic review. Set aside time weekly to examine patterns in your notes and decisions. Look for recurring misreads and correct underlying assumptions. This reflective practice turns raw observation into refined skill. Maintain ethical standards in observation. Use what you learn to improve situations and respect privacy boundaries. Observational skill becomes trustworthy only when applied with integrity rather than manipulation. Challenge yourself with exercises that expand perceptual range. Practice detecting changes in group energy, predicting the conclusion of brief conversations, or identifying subtle indicators of stress across different contexts. Measure your success and adjust strategies accordingly. Finally, accept that observation is never complete and certainty should be provisional. The goal is better decisions, not perfect knowledge. Approach each scene with disciplined curiosity, careful description, and willingness to revise your view as more information becomes available. Over time, the habit of sharp observation rewires how you gather information, turning random impressions into clear, reliable guidance for action and relationship building. Chapter 90. Build persistence to keep moving despite obstacles. Persistence is the quiet force that carries you forward when excitement fades and results take time. It is not loud or dramatic. It does not rely on constant motivation. It works in silence through routine effort and steady commitment. Life will always present resistance. Plans break, energy drops. Progress feels slow. Persistence is what allows you to continue anyway, without needing perfect conditions. Many people stop not because they lack ability, but because they misinterpret difficulty as a sign to quit. Obstacles are not signals of failure. They are normal features of any meaningful pursuit. Persistence begins when you accept that struggle is part of the process rather than an interruption to it. This acceptance removes surprise and reduces emotional resistance when challenges appear. Persistence depends on clarity of purpose. When your reason for starting is vague, effort collapses under pressure. A clear reason acts like an anchor during difficult moments. It does not need to be grand. It needs to be honest. Know why the goal matters to you personally. Return to that reason when momentum slows. This internal reference restores direction when external encouragement disappears. Persistence is strengthened by focusing on process instead of outcome. Large goals can overwhelm attention and drain energy. Daily actions are manageable when you focus on completing today's task rather than achieving the final result. You reduce mental strain. Consistent attention to the next small step keeps progress moving even when the destination feels distant. Obstacles often expose weak systems rather than personal weakness. When progress stalls, examine routines, tools, and environment. Adjusting systems restores movement more effectively than self-criticism. Persistence grows when you design conditions that support effort rather than relying on willpower alone. Fatigue is one of the greatest threats to persistence. Physical and mental exhaustion distort perception, making problems feel larger than they are. Guarding sleep, nutrition, and recovery is not optional. Sustained effort requires sustained energy. Persistence is not about pushing endlessly. It is about managing resources so effort remains possible over time. Persistence requires emotional regulation. Frustration, disappointment, and boredom will appear. These emotions do not need to be eliminated. They need to be observed without reaction. Acting based on emotion often leads to quitting or impulsive decisions. Acting based on commitment maintains direction regardless of mood. Setbacks test persistence more than slow progress. Failure challenges identity and confidence. Reframe setbacks as information rather than judgment. Each failure reveals something that did not work. That knowledge improves future attempts. Persistence turns failure into refinement rather than defeat. Comparison weakens persistence. Watching others advance faster creates discouragement and impatience. Every path has unseen challenges. Measure progress against your previous self, not against others. This internal comparison maintains motivation and keeps focus on controllable actions. Persistence grows through structure. Fixed schedules, clear priorities, and predefined actions reduce decision fatigue. When action is planned in advance, there is less room for doubt. Routine turns effort into habit, and habit carries you forward even on low-energy days. Break goals into clear checkpoints. Long stretches without feedback drain motivation. Short milestones provide evidence of movement. Celebrate completion of steps rather than waiting for final success. Recognition of progress reinforces persistence. Persistence also requires flexibility. Stubbornness is not persistence. When a method fails, repeatedly adjust the approach, not the goal. Rigidity wastes energy. Adaptation preserves momentum. The ability to change tactics while holding direction is a sign of mature persistence. Mental endurance improves when you normalize discomfort. Growth rarely feels comfortable. Expecting ease creates frustration. Expecting challenge creates resilience. When discomfort appears, remind yourself that this feeling is familiar and temporary. This mindset prevents emotional withdrawal. Persistence benefits from accountability. Sharing commitments with trusted individuals increases follow-through. External observation strengthens internal resolve. Accountability does not replace discipline, but it reinforces it during moments of weakness. Avoid perfectionism. Waiting for ideal conditions delays action. Progress requires imperfect effort. Persistence values consistency over precision. Small imperfect steps accumulate into meaningful results. Persistence requires patience with learning curves. Early stages feel awkward and inefficient. Skill development takes time. Judging performance too early discourages effort. Allow yourself to be inexperienced while remaining committed. Persistence is easier when identity aligns with action. See yourself as someone who finishes what they start. Identity shapes behavior. When persistence becomes part of self-image, quitting feels inconsistent and uncomfortable. Reduce friction wherever possible. Simplify tools, streamline tasks, and remove unnecessary obstacles. Lower resistance increases follow-through. Persistence thrives in environments that make action easier. Persistence also depends on recovery after lapses. Missing a day or making a mistake does not erase progress. What matters is return speed. Resume action quickly without emotional punishment. Guilt delays recovery. Acceptance accelerates it. Track effort, not just results. Recording time spent, actions taken, or habits completed builds awareness and accountability. Visible records reinforce commitment and reveal patterns that can be improved. Persistence improves confidence. Each time you continue despite difficulty, you reinforce belief in your capability. Confidence built through persistence is stable because it is grounded in experience rather than praise. Persistence reduces fear. Familiar exposure to difficulty makes challenge less intimidating. Over time, obstacles lose emotional intensity because they are expected and manageable. Persistence supports long-term vision. Short-term discomfort becomes acceptable when placed within a larger timeline. Keep perspective wide enough to absorb temporary difficulty without panic. Persistence is strengthened by simplicity. Overloading goals with complexity increases burnout. Focus on essential actions. Simpler plans are easier to sustain. Persistence teaches self-respect. Keeping promises to yourself builds trust. Self-trust increases motivation and stability. Persistence creates momentum. Once movement begins, stopping feels harder than continuing. Early effort is the most demanding. Staying in motion reduces activation energy for future actions. Persistence requires honesty. Admit when motivation is low or progress is slow. Denial drains energy. Honest assessment allows adjustment and renewal. Persistence also requires hope grounded in effort. Blind optimism fades. Confidence rooted in consistent action endures. Hope based on behavior rather than expectation sustains effort. Persistence transforms obstacles into training. Each difficulty strengthens capacity. Challenges build skills that ease future efforts. What once blocked you becomes manageable through repeated exposure. Persistence is a daily decision. It is not proven once, it is reaffirmed through repeated action. Each day offers a chance to continue. Persistence does not demand constant intensity. Moderate effort applied consistently outperforms sporadic intensity. Sustainable pace protects longevity. Persistence aligns life with intention. It bridges the gap between desire and outcome. Without it, goals remain ideas. With it, ideas become reality. Persistence is quiet but powerful. It does not seek attention. It produces results through consistency. When obstacles appear, persistence does not argue. It adjusts and moves forward. Building persistence means committing to progress regardless of conditions. It is choosing continuation over comfort and growth over ease. Practiced daily persistence becomes a reliable force that carries you through resistance and steadily shapes the life you intend to build. Chapter Henny. Enhance creativity to solve problems with practical solutions. Creativity is not reserved for artists or inventors. It is a practical human ability that allows you to find useful answers when familiar methods stop working. Every challenge you face demands some level of creative thinking, whether it involves managing time, improving relationships, solving work problems, or navigating uncertainty. Enhancing creativity means strengthening your ability to see options where others see dead ends, and to act wisely when routines fail. Creativity begins with attention. A distracted mind repeats old solutions because it lacks the awareness needed to notice alternatives. When you slow down and fully engage with a problem, details emerge that were previously ignored. These details often contain the seeds of practical solutions. Creativity grows when you give problems your full presence rather than rushing to fix them. Rigid thinking blocks creativity. When you believe there is only one correct way to do something, options disappear. Practical creativity requires flexibility. This does not mean abandoning structure or discipline. It means being willing to adjust methods while holding on to purpose. When one approach fails, the creative mind asks what else could work rather than insisting on repetition. Creativity improves when you separate the problem from emotional reaction. Strong emotions narrow thinking and push the mind toward familiar patterns. Calm reflection expands perspective. When you feel stuck, pause and regulate breathing before attempting to think your way forward. A calmer nervous system supports broader thinking and clearer judgment. Expose yourself to varied input. Creativity feeds on diversity of experience. Reading different subjects, listening to different viewpoints, and observing unfamiliar environments provide raw material for new connections. Practical solutions often arise from combining ideas drawn from separate domains. This process requires curiosity and openness rather than expertise alone. Ask better questions. The quality of thinking depends on the quality of inquiry. Instead of asking why something is impossible, ask how it might be approached differently. Replace absolute statements with exploratory questions. This shift invites the mind to search rather than conclude prematurely. Creativity benefits from constraints. Too many options overwhelm decision-making. Clear limits focus effort and sharpen solutions. Define the boundaries of the problem clearly. Knowing what cannot change clarifies what can. Constraints guide creativity toward usable outcomes rather than abstract ideas. Practice reframing problems. A situation labeled as a failure may be reframed as incomplete progress. A limitation may become a condition to work within rather than a barrier. Reframing alters emotional tone and opens new paths for action. Use small experiments to test ideas. Creativity is not purely mental. Action provides feedback that refines thinking. Try low-risk trials rather than waiting for perfect solutions. Each experiment reveals information that improves the next attempt. This cycle turns creativity into a practical process rather than a vague talent. Allow time for incubation. Continuous effort without rest reduces insight. Stepping away from a problem allows subconscious processing to continue. Short breaks, walks, or changes of environment often trigger fresh perspectives. This is not avoidance but strategic rest. Record ideas without immediate judgment. Many useful ideas appear impractical at first glance. Writing them down preserves possibilities for later refinement. Judgment can be applied after ideas are generated. Separating creation from evaluation increases output and quality. Creativity strengthens through repetition. Regular practice trains the mind to explore alternatives automatically, solve small problems creatively to build skill for larger challenges. This habit conditions the brain to look beyond default responses. Challenge assumptions deliberately. Ask what beliefs you are treating as facts. Many obstacles exist only because assumptions go unexamined. Testing assumptions often reveals unnecessary limits that can be removed. Creativity grows when you embrace uncertainty. Not knowing the answer is uncomfortable but productive. Accepting uncertainty allows exploration. Avoiding it forces premature conclusions. Comfort with not knowing expands problem-solving capacity. Observe how others solve problems. Study different approaches and adapt useful elements. This is not imitation but integration. Learning from others accelerates creative development while preserving individuality. Simplify problems by breaking them into parts. Large problems intimidate the mind. Smaller components are easier to analyze and improve. Solving one part often reveals solutions for others. Creativity improves with physical movement. The body influences cognition. Walking, stretching, or light activity stimulates circulation and mental flexibility. Movement changes perspective and reduces mental rigidity. Maintain a beginner mindset. Expertise can limit creativity by locking thinking into established patterns. Approaching problems as if you are learning anew encourages exploration. Ask basic questions without embarrassment. Creativity thrives in environments that tolerate mistakes. Fear of error suppresses experimentation. Allow yourself to try and adjust. Mistakes provide information. This mindset supports practical improvement. Use visualization to explore outcomes. Mentally simulate different actions and consequences. This allows testing ideas safely before implementation. Visualization clarifies options and highlights potential obstacles. Creativity is strengthened by reflection. After solving a problem, review what worked and why. Extract principles that can be applied elsewhere. Reflection turns experience into reusable knowledge. Avoid overconsumption of information. Too much input can crowd thinking. Balance learning with synthesis. Time spent connecting ideas is as important as time spent gathering them. Creativity benefits from clear priorities. Knowing what matters most directs effort. Solutions become practical when aligned with core values and goals. Collaborate when possible. Different perspectives reveal blind spots. Constructive discussion stimulates new ideas and refines existing ones. Collaboration expands creative capacity beyond individual limits. Creativity also requires courage. New ideas risk criticism. Practical solutions often challenge tradition. Confidence to test ideas despite uncertainty strengthens creative output. Train yourself to notice patterns. Recognizing similarities across situations enables transfer of solutions. Pattern recognition allows you to adapt previous successes to new contexts. Creativity improves with emotional balance. Excess stress narrows thinking. Regular recovery supports mental flexibility. Protecting well-being is part of maintaining creative ability. Creativity becomes practical when linked to execution. Ideas alone do not solve problems. Action transforms ideas into results. Commit to implementing solutions and refining them through feedback. Creativity develops patience. Not every problem yields immediate answers. Allow time for understanding to deepen. Rushing leads to shallow fixes. Creativity is a form of responsibility. It allows you to respond effectively rather than react habitually. This response shapes outcomes and builds competence. Creativity strengthens independence. You rely less on external instructions and more on internal problem solving. This autonomy increases confidence and adaptability. Creativity supports resilience. When one path closes, others appear. This flexibility reduces frustration and preserves momentum. Creativity improves decision-making. Considering multiple options before choosing increases the likelihood of effective outcomes. Creativity becomes a habit when practiced daily. Look for opportunities to solve small problems differently. Over time, this mindset becomes automatic. Creativity aligns thinking with reality. It adapts ideals to circumstances. Practical creativity respects constraints while seeking progress. Enhancing creativity means training your mind to explore, act, evaluate, and adjust continuously. It transforms obstacles into opportunities for learning and improvement. Practiced consistently, creativity becomes a reliable tool that supports clear thinking, effective action, and steady growth in every area of life. Chapter 11. Control emotions to respond wisely in every situation. Emotions are powerful signals, but they are poor decision makers when left unchecked. Every situation you face carries an emotional charge, whether subtle or intense. The challenge is not to eliminate emotions, but to manage them so they inform your choices without controlling your actions. Controlling emotions means creating space between what you feel and what you do. In that space, wisdom lives. Most emotional reactions happen faster than conscious thought. A word, a look, or an unexpected event can trigger anger, fear, irritation, or anxiety in seconds. This speed makes emotions feel automatic and uncontrollable. They are not. While you cannot always control the initial feeling, you can control how long it lasts and how you respond to it. That is where mastery begins. The first step in emotional control is awareness. You cannot manage what you do not notice. Many people live in a constant state of reaction because they are unaware of their emotional patterns. Pay attention to bodily signals. Tight shoulders, shallow breathing, clenched jaw, or racing thoughts often appear before emotional outbursts. These signals are early warnings. Noticing them gives you time to slow down. Labeling emotions reduces their intensity. When you silently name what you are feeling, the emotional center of the brain calms. Saying to yourself that you feel angry, frustrated, or anxious brings clarity. It turns a vague inner storm into a defined experience. Defined experiences are easier to manage than undefined ones. Breathing is the most direct tool for emotional regulation. Slow, steady breathing sends a message of safety to the nervous system. When emotions rise, extend the length of your exhale. This simple action lowers physiological arousal and creates mental space. Calm breathing does not solve the problem, but it prepares the mind to address it wisely. Emotions often intensify because of interpretation. An event itself is neutral until meaning is assigned. Two people can experience the same situation and feel completely different because they interpret it differently. Examine the story you are telling yourself. Ask whether it is the only possible explanation. Challenging interpretations reduces emotional escalation. Control does not mean suppression. Suppressed emotions do not disappear. They accumulate and eventually surface in unhealthy ways. Wise control means acknowledging feelings without acting on them impulsively. You allow emotions to exist while choosing your response consciously. Emotional control improves communication. Speaking while emotionally charged often leads to regret. Pausing before responding allows you to choose words that align with your values rather than your impulses. Silence used intentionally is a form of strength, not weakness. Anger is often a response to perceived injustice or blocked goals. Instead of reacting, identify what boundary feels violated. Address the boundary calmly rather than expressing raw anger. This transforms anger into assertiveness. Fear signals perceived threat. Sometimes the threat is real, sometimes imagined. Before reacting, assess whether danger is immediate. If not, slow down. Fear loses power when examined rationally. Sadness reflects loss or unmet expectation. Allowing yourself to feel it without resistance shortens its duration. Fighting sadness prolongs it. Acceptance creates resolution. Anxiety thrives on future uncertainty. Bringing attention back to the present moment reduces its grip. Focus on what can be done now rather than what might happen later. Emotional control is strengthened through routine self-care. Lack of sleep, poor nutrition, and constant stress weaken regulation. A tired mind reacts more intensely. Maintaining physical health supports emotional stability. Expect emotional triggers. Certain people, topics, or situations repeatedly provoke reactions. Identifying these triggers prepares you to respond differently next time. Preparation reduces surprise, and reduced surprise lowers emotional intensity. Detach self-worth from external events. When emotions depend entirely on outcomes or opinions, control is lost. Internal stability grows when self-respect is based on effort and integrity rather than approval. Emotional control requires patience with yourself. Progress is gradual. Occasional emotional reactions do not negate growth. Reflect on what happened and adjust. Self-criticism increases emotional volatility. Self-correction promotes stability. Practice delayed response. When emotions rise, wait before acting. Even a few minutes can change perspective. Delay prevents irreversible decisions made in emotional states. Develop a habit of reflection. At the end of the day, review moments of emotional challenge. Ask what triggered the feeling, how you responded, and what could improve next time. This turns experience into training. Control improves when you accept that discomfort is temporary. Strong emotions peak and fall naturally if not fed by thought. Observing them without adding commentary allows them to pass. Avoid emotional reasoning. Feeling strongly does not make something true. Separate emotion from evidence. Decisions based on facts and values are more reliable than those based on feeling alone. Emotional control enhances leadership. People trust those who remain calm under pressure. Stability inspires confidence. Calm presence influences others more effectively than forceful reaction. Control also strengthens relationships. Responding rather than reacting reduces conflict. It allows understanding to replace defensiveness. Emotional mastery supports discipline. When emotions dictate behavior, consistency collapses. When behavior follows intention, progress continues regardless of mood. Control builds confidence. Each time you manage an emotional situation well, trust in your ability grows. This confidence reduces fear of future challenges. Learn to pause internal dialogue. Endless mental commentary fuels emotion. Brief moments of mental silence reduce intensity. Focus attention on physical sensations or surroundings to interrupt rumination. Emotional control does not remove passion. It channels it. Passion guided by discipline becomes productive rather than destructive. Set boundaries around emotional exposure. Constant negative input increases emotional reactivity. Choose information carefully. Protecting mental environment supports regulation. Control improves judgment. Clear thinking emerges when emotions are balanced. This clarity leads to better decisions and fewer regrets. Emotional control is a daily practice. It is built through repeated small choices. Each situation is an opportunity to strengthen it. The goal is not to feel less but to respond better. Emotions are part of being human. Wisdom lies in guiding them rather than being driven by them. Over time, emotional control becomes natural. What once required effort becomes habit. Reactions soften. Responses strengthen. Mastering emotional control allows you to act from values rather than impulse. It creates consistency in behavior and clarity in thought. When emotions are guided rather than obeyed, every situation becomes an opportunity to respond wisely and build a life directed by intention rather than reaction. Chapter 12 Lears increase self-awareness to improve choices and actions daily. Self-awareness is the habit of noticing what you think, feel, and do so that your actions match your intentions rather than drift on autopilot. It begins with simple observation and grows into a powerful tool for better decisions, improved relationships, and steady personal progress. When you know your tendencies, you can design responses instead of being surprised by them. Awareness makes unclear choices visible and turns guessing into informed action. Start by observing reactions as they occur without rushing to explain them. Notice the thought that appears first, the physical sensation that follows, and the impulse that urges you to act. This sequence holds critical information about patterns that repeat across situations. Recording these moments in a short note immediately after they happen transforms memory into data. Over time, that file of moments reveals recurring triggers, habits, and assumptions that quietly shape your life. Ask precise questions of yourself regularly. Instead of vague prompts, use targeted queries, such as what assumption just moved me, what emotion sits beneath this reaction, and what outcome do I actually want here. Precise questions yield useful answers and prevent generic reflections that lead nowhere. Make answering these questions a short daily habit, either in the morning to set intention or in the evening to consolidate learning. Track small behaviors rather than abstract traits. Choose a single habit for a week and note its context, frequency, and consequences. For example, note where and why you reach for your phone, what thought precedes the reach, and how you feel afterward. This granular tracking exposes automatic routines and gives you a clear point of intervention. Changing tiny routines compounds into substantial shifts because behavior is the concrete expression of awareness. Use feedback intentionally. Ask people you trust what they notice about your behavior and decisions and request specific examples. External perspective catches blind spots that internal reflection misses. When you receive feedback, listen without defending. Respond by testing the suggestion in small ways and then report back. This iterative feedback loop turns external observation into reliable information for self-adjustment. Practice a short pause before important actions. Even a 5-second interruption between impulse and behavior creates a space for choice. In that pause, label the impulse and decide deliberately whether to act. This micro-pause becomes a repeated exercise in choosing rather than reacting, and over time expands your control over automatic responses. Cultivate a daily journaling habit that focuses on cause and effect. Rather than summarizing events, write about what preceded your strongest reactions, which thoughts influenced a decision, and how outcomes compared with your expectations. This cause-oriented journaling trains your mind to notice relationships between inner states and external results, which improves future choices. Learn to map emotional triggers. Identify specific words people use, situations, or environments that reliably provoke a strong reaction. When you know what triggers, you can design practical strategies to manage exposure to those triggers or rehearse calm responses ahead of time. Preparation reduces surprise and converts vulnerability into manageability. Practice a regular body scan to connect physiological signals with mental states. Move attention slowly through the body and note tension, breathing rate, or energy levels. These sensations are early indicators of mental tone and often precede conscious emotion. Recognizing them early makes it possible to intervene before a reaction escalates. Create a set of personal metrics that matter to your life and check them weekly. Metrics might include number of focused hours on a goal, quality of sleep, frequency of social contact, or time spent learning. Objective measures prevent progress illusions and ground your reflection in concrete evidence rather than mood-based impressions. Test assumptions with small experiments. When a belief about yourself or a situation drives decisions, design a low-risk test that either supports or challenges that belief. For instance, if you assume you always fail under pressure, try a short-time task with controlled conditions and observe the outcome. Experiments convert abstract stories into factual input that reshapes self-understanding. Develop a ritual for 1 minute of honest inventory at midday. Use it to note where energy is going, what thoughts recur, and whether current actions align with priorities. This quick check prevents schedules from flattening your priorities and creates continuous course correction throughout the day. Practice labeling cognitive distortions when they appear. Name the thought pattern for what it is, such as catastrophizing, overgeneralizing, or mind reading. Labeling decreases the credibility of unhelpful thoughts and creates distance between you and automatic narratives. Distance allows reason to evaluate whether the thought deserves action. Use role-based reflection to clarify priorities. Consider key roles you hold, such as friend, parent, worker, or learner, and ask which role deserves more attention this week. This method helps allocate time and energy in a way that reflects values rather than momentary demands. Schedule a monthly review that blends data reflection with emotional check-in. Review your habit logs, feedback notes, and metrics, then ask what patterns emerge, what progress is real, and what adjustments are required. Combining objective data with subjective feeling prevents either from dominating the picture and produces balanced plans for change. Practice deliberate self-compassion when you discover unpleasant truths. Awareness often reveals faults that trigger shame. Responding with harsh judgment shuts down learning. Treat discoveries as useful information and plan a small corrective step. This approach preserves motivation and turns self-criticism into constructive change. Create friction for bad habits and reduce friction for good ones. If you notice a behavior that undermines your goals, add a simple obstacle to make it harder and add an easy access point for the replacement action. Small design changes exploit behavioral tendencies and make disciplined behavior the default. Refine decision frameworks to reduce cognitive load. When you notice repeated indecision, build a short checklist or rule to guide choices automatically. Rules remove the need for repeated deliberation and free mental energy for higher priority decisions while staying aligned with your values. Practice radical candidness in situations that matter. Share a concise internal observation with a trusted person, such as, "I noticed I got defensive when that topic came up, and I want to understand why." This kind of clarity invites precise conversation and accelerates insight more than vague complaints or silence. Use environmental cues as reminders of inner goals. Place simple visible prompts in your workspace or living area that trigger the behavior you want to practice. External reminders anchor internal awareness until the habit becomes internalized. Train attention with focused tasks that require sustained concentration for short periods. Increasing attentional stamina improves the quality of inner observation because it reduces the mind's tendency to skip over subtle signals in favor of distraction. Turn setbacks into inquiry rather than verdicts. When a plan fails, ask what specifically led to the outcome, what was within your control, and what can be changed next. Inquiry transforms failure into a learning pathway and protects motivation from collapse. Practice perspective shifting. When emotions run strong, intentionally view the situation from another person's vantage or from a 5-year future self. This shift often reveals broader options and reduces immediate reactivity, which enhances decision quality. Commit to one small change at a time. Awareness is tempting because it reveals many opportunities for improvement, but trying to fix everything at once causes fatigue and scatter. Select one focused behavior to alter for a month and measure it closely. Recognize the influence of identity statements on behavior. Statements like "I am not a morning person" shape actions more than facts do. Notice these identity scripts and test them experimentally by altering behavior for a short period to see if the identity holds. Use critical moments as learning labs. High-stakes situations reveal core tendencies quickly. Prepare debriefs after these moments to identify what worked, what did not, and what you will practice differently next time. Finally, treat self-awareness as a practical skill with methods, habits, and measurable outcomes rather than a vague ideal. The combination of precise questions, consistent recording, targeted experiments, and honest feedback produces reliable changes in how you choose and act. Over weeks and months, this practice converts impulsive patterns into intentional routines, aligns daily choices with long-term aims, and builds a stable internal compass that makes decision-making clearer and less costly. Chapter 13: Ignite motivation to take decisive action consistently. Motivation begins with a clear reason that matters to you personally, and not with a promise that someone else will approve your effort. Finding that reason requires honest reflection about what you value and what outcome would change your life in a meaningful way. When the goal aligns with personal priorities, action becomes easier because choices feel like investments rather than obligations. This alignment is the foundation for any sustained drive. Once a reason is identified, break the destination into immediate next steps that are simple to start. Large goals are intimidating and often freeze action. Defining the very next physical move removes paralysis. Write down the first 3 concrete actions you can complete within the next hour and commit to doing one of them immediately. The momentum from starting is disproportionately powerful and turns intention into motion. Design an environment that makes desired behaviors the obvious choice. Remove obstacles that require willpower and add cues that prompt the action you want. Place tools within reach, prepare the workspace the night before, and create one clear signal that marks the beginning of focused work. Small environmental adjustments reduce the friction between wanting and doing and allow motivation to convert into results with minimal mental resistance. Use tiny habits to build consistency. Commit to a task you can complete in 5 minutes and repeat it daily until it becomes automatic. The 5-minute rule lowers the activation energy for starting and demonstrates to yourself that you keep promises. When the short habit is established, increase the time gradually. The accumulation of small repeated actions compounds into meaningful change without depending on sporadic bursts of enthusiasm. Create visible evidence of progress. Track completed tasks, hours of focused work, or concrete outcomes on a simple chart. Seeing upward movement fuels motivation more reliably than vague optimism. The brain responds to patterns and feedback. Provide it with clear signals that work is producing movement. A daily log or a checklist offers quick wins that reinforce the habit loop and sustain effort across slow periods. Pair effort with immediate micro-rewards to bridge the gap between action and satisfaction. Long-term goals often lack the short-term payoff needed to maintain energy. A brief walk, a favorite tea, or a short break after a productive session offers timely reinforcement. Use these small rewards strategically and avoid habits that undermine the goal. The right reward strengthens the brain's association between action and pleasure without derailing progress. Build social structures that support consistent effort. Announce a modest commitment to a trusted person or join a group that shares your aim. Public accountability increases the cost of quitting and multiplies encouragement. Even a weekly check-in with someone who expects progress helps convert intention into daily practice because social expectations provide steady external reinforcement. Craft routines that anchor your day. Rituals reduce decision fatigue by creating predictable openings for the work that matters. Begin with a clear start signal, such as a short breathing exercise, a particular playlist, or arranging your workspace in a specific way. These rituals prepare attention and mark boundary between other activities and focused work. Over time, the ritual itself becomes a psychological switch that summons motivation without a battle of will. Use implementation intentions to specify the when, where, and how of action. A statement like "I will write for 20 minutes at my desk at 7 a.m. transforms vague desire into a plan that the mind can enact. Implementation intentions reduce procrastination by making the path to action explicit and by linking intention to context, which triggers behavior automatically. Manage energy, not just time. Motivation ebbs and flows with physical condition. Schedule demanding tasks during high-energy windows and set lighter tasks for low-energy periods. Prioritize sleep, nutrition, and short movement breaks to sustain cognitive capacity. When energy is optimized, motivation requires less persuasion and decisions feel less draining. Leverage the power of small experiments. If a habit is failing, test minor changes and measure results. Alter timing, adjust the reward, or modify the environment and observe what improves adherence. Treat these trials as data collection rather than moral tests. Iteration refines systems and reveals which conditions genuinely support your drive. Cultivate intrinsic reasons alongside external incentives. External rewards can jumpstart behavior, but internal meaning holds it. Ask what mastery, growth, or contribution you gain from the activity and remind yourself of that aspect regularly. Reinforcing intrinsic motives transforms work into practice that you value regardless of outside recognition. Use the 2-minute start technique for daunting tasks. Commit to 2 minutes of action and leave permission to stop after that. Most often the initial resistance fades and you continue well beyond 2 minutes. This tactic exploits the brain's tendency to continue once engagement begins and reduces the psychological cost of beginning. Design commitment devices that raise the stakes of failing to act. For example, schedule a donation to a cause you dislike if you miss a deadline. Enroll in a public course with progress checks, or place a time-limited accountability bet. Commitment devices change incentives in a way that aligns present behavior with future goals and reduce reliance on fluctuating motivation. Integrate variety to prevent boredom. Repeating the same routine can dull enthusiasm even for meaningful work. Introduce controlled diversity by alternating task types, rotating environments, or changing micro-rewards. Variety maintains interest while preserving the structure needed for discipline. Apply the principle of immediate consequence. Create small, costly outcomes for missed actions and immediate benefits for completion. The brain learns faster when cause and effect are tightly coupled. Use concrete penalties and rewards that matter to you and ensure they are applied consistently. Practice clear language about intentions. Use active verbs and precise timing when you describe what you will do. Ambiguous statements invite delay. Speaking clearly to yourself or others about your commitment clarifies expectations and mobilizes action more effectively. Anchor motivation to identity statements. Say, I am a person who writes daily, or I am someone who trains consistently. Identity-based commitments shift the default choice toward actions that match self-perception. Reinforcing these identity phrases through small repeated behaviors gradually makes them true without relying on momentary enthusiasm. Protect focus by limiting multitasking and frequent context switching. Divide work into focused blocks and guard those blocks with simple rules such as turning off notifications and closing unrelated tabs. Attention is a scarce resource, and preserving it allows effort to translate into completed work, which in turn reinforces motivation. Celebrate incremental wins publicly or privately. Marking progress honors the effort and signals progress to your brain and your community. The recognition does not need to be elaborate. A short note, a small ritual, or a digital badge suffices. Celebration marks the pathway forward and prevents slow erosion of purpose. When setbacks occur, analyze them concretely and remove moral judgment from the process. Identify what failed, what can be changed, and what remains intact. Rapid recovery is a motivational skill because prolonged discouragement kills momentum. Restart quickly with a specific next action and apply what you learned. Finally, make motivation a practiced skill rather than a hope. Schedule mechanisms that convert desire into action across time. Clear reasons, daily rituals, small wins, accountability devices, energy management, and iterative testing. Combining these elements builds a dependable system that carries you through phases when enthusiasm wanes and keeps you taking decisive steps regularly until the goal is reached. Chapter 4. Practice humility to learn from every experience fully. Humility is the foundation for learning deeply and acting wisely in every situation. It is not weakness or self-deprecation. Humility is the clear recognition of limits and the willingness to see the world honestly without the distortion of ego. Practicing humility allows you to observe, absorb, and respond to life with a level of clarity that arrogance and pride often block. It opens the mind to feedback, new ideas, and perspectives that would otherwise remain invisible. The first step in cultivating humility is acknowledging that no one has complete knowledge. Every experience offers information you do not yet possess. Accepting this truth allows you to approach situations with curiosity rather than judgment. When you act from curiosity, mistakes are no longer threats to your identity. They become opportunities to understand more deeply. Humility grows through listening. Most people listen to respond rather than to understand. Practice listening fully without formulating answers or rebuttals in your mind. Focus on the content, the emotions behind it, and the perspective of the other person. Listening attentively builds understanding and often reveals details you would have otherwise missed. This skill transforms relationships and enriches personal insight. Self-reflection is a core tool for humble learning. After any event, take time to examine your role, your assumptions, and your reactions. Ask what you did well, what you could have done differently, and what lessons are embedded in the experience. Writing reflections creates clarity because the act of expression forces precision of thought and exposes blind spots. Accept feedback with gratitude rather than defensiveness. Feedback, even when uncomfortable, is a mirror showing areas you cannot see alone. Avoid rationalizing or dismissing criticism immediately. Pause, digest, and extract actionable points. Even negative or poorly expressed feedback contains usable information. Respond by adapting your approach rather than defending your ego. Humility also means acknowledging mistakes openly. Owning errors is not shameful. It demonstrates awareness and courage. When mistakes are addressed honestly, learning accelerates because you can implement correction immediately rather than delay growth through denial. Public or private acknowledgement of errors builds trust and strengthens relationships. Practice asking questions instead of assuming you know the answer. Many failures occur because assumptions go unchallenged. Frame questions that uncover perspective, cause, and potential solutions. The habit of inquiry signals a willingness to learn rather than a need to be right, which is the essence of humility. Observe others to learn without comparison. Every person you encounter has unique experiences and insights. Watch their behavior, study their choices, and consider what strategies could be adapted to your life. Appreciation without envy cultivates humility and broadens knowledge simultaneously. Humility grows when you detach self-worth from external outcomes. Pride often depends on results or recognition. Humility grounds self-esteem in effort, honesty, and growth rather than approval. This perspective allows you to continue learning even when success is delayed or unnoticed. Develop patience in learning. Knowledge and skill rarely appear instantly. Accept that mastery requires time and repeated effort. Waiting for gradual progress strengthens resilience and reduces frustration, creating an environment where humility can flourish. Humility is strengthened by gratitude. Recognizing the contributions of others to your success or the conditions that support your efforts shifts focus from ego to reality. Acknowledging assistance and circumstance prevents overestimation of your own role and opens the door for continued learning. Practice flexibility in thought. Humility allows you to revise beliefs when presented with evidence or reasoning. Holding rigid opinions stifles growth. The ability to change perspective is not weakness, it is strength anchored in reality. Flexible thinking enables adaptation, innovation, and continuous learning. Remain teachable regardless of experience level. Advanced knowledge in one area does not guarantee understanding in another. Approach every situation with the assumption that there is something to learn. Treat every encounter as a lesson waiting to be discovered. Humility requires self-awareness. Recognize when ego drives behavior or clouds judgment. Notice defensiveness, impatience, or the need to dominate a conversation. Observing these tendencies creates a choice point: act from ego or from reason. Choosing reason strengthens humility. Balance confidence with humility. Being humble does not require doubting your abilities or avoiding action. Confidence rooted in skill and preparation combined with humility rooted in awareness creates a stable foundation for decision-making. Action taken from this balance is measured, effective, and receptive to correction. Use failure as a teacher. Analyze setbacks objectively. Ask what factors were controllable and what lessons are embedded in the outcome. Humility transforms failure into a learning tool rather than a source of shame or ego threat. Avoid comparing yourself to others. Humility comes from understanding your strengths and weaknesses without benchmarking constantly against external achievements. Focus on personal progress and continuous improvement. This internal measure keeps you centered and receptive to growth opportunities. Practice empathy. Understanding others' perspectives requires recognizing that your experience is not universal. Humility allows space for the thoughts and feelings of others, which enriches problem-solving and interpersonal skill. Empathy is an active application of humility in everyday life. Seek diverse experiences deliberately. Encountering unfamiliar environments or cultures challenges assumptions and expands understanding. Humility grows when you realize the limits of your own knowledge and the vast possibilities that exist beyond your personal experience. Reflect on the impermanence of knowledge. What you know today may be incomplete tomorrow. Maintaining an awareness of evolving information reduces arrogance and opens the mind to continual learning. Accepting uncertainty is central to humility because it frames knowledge as a journey rather than a fixed possession. Practice silent observation. Not every opinion needs to be voiced immediately. Listening quietly and reflecting before responding demonstrates restraint and respect for reality beyond your own immediate perception. This habit trains patience and the capacity to absorb more than you react. Incorporate humility into leadership. Guide through example rather than dominance. A leader who admits mistakes, listens to input, and values team insights fosters collective learning. Effective influence is rooted in awareness of limits and openness to growth. Balanced speaking and listening. Humility is reflected in knowing when to share insight and when to absorb others' perspectives. Allowing space for multiple voices creates a more complete understanding and strengthens decision-making. Humility also manifests in preparation. Recognizing that knowledge is incomplete encourages careful study, rehearsal, and research before acting. Preparation demonstrates respect for complexity and reinforces thoughtful learning. Avoid seeking validation as a driver for action. Let curiosity, discipline, and commitment motivate behavior. Humility grows when your focus is on the work and its lessons rather than approval. Use reflection after success. Achievements can inflate ego if not examined. Consider the factors, learning points, and contributions that enabled the outcome. Recognizing reality without exaggeration sustains perspective and encourages continued growth. Ultimately, practicing humility is about remaining teachable and attentive in every circumstance. It allows you to extract knowledge from experience, receive insight from others, and respond intelligently to situations without ego interference. Humility transforms every moment into an opportunity to learn, ensuring that personal growth is continuous, intentional, and deeply grounded in reality. It converts experience into wisdom, mistakes into guidance, and relationships into sources of shared understanding, creating a foundation for lifelong improvement and mastery of self. Chapter 15c. Strengthen adaptability to thrive in changing circumstances effectively. Adaptability is the skill of responding effectively when circumstances shift unexpectedly. Life is rarely static, and challenges rarely arrive in convenient packages. Developing adaptability allows you to navigate change without panic, maintain stability amid uncertainty, and find solutions even when familiar methods fail. It begins with the mindset that change is inevitable and opportunity exists within disruption. When you embrace flexibility rather than resist it, you gain control over outcomes that would otherwise feel chaotic. The first step in strengthening adaptability is accepting reality as it is. Many struggles come not from the situation itself, but from resisting it. Denial, avoidance, or wishing circumstances were different consumes energy and delays action. Acknowledging the facts clearly allows you to assess resources, identify constraints, and consider possible strategies. Acceptance does not mean passivity. It means seeing the situation without distortion so you can respond intelligently. Develop mental flexibility by exploring multiple approaches to the same problem. When one method fails, list alternative paths without judgment. Avoid rigid insistence on one preferred strategy. Creative adaptation emerges when you allow yourself to consider options outside your comfort zone. Practicing mental agility in small, everyday decisions builds the ability to pivot quickly in higher stakes situations. Strengthening adaptability requires cultivating emotional stability. Change often triggers stress, fear, or frustration. When emotions dominate, rational thinking diminishes. Techniques such as controlled breathing, grounding exercises, and mindful observation of sensations in the body create space between stimulus and reaction. This space allows for deliberate responses rather than automatic reactions, ensuring your actions remain aligned with goals even in unpredictable circumstances. Observation is a key tool for adapting successfully. Take note of patterns, shifts, and nuances in your environment before acting. By monitoring details closely, you identify subtle indicators that suggest which strategy will be most effective. Observation also allows you to anticipate challenges and act proactively rather than reactively. Practice proactive scenario planning. Consider potential disruptions or changes before they occur and develop contingency strategies. Ask yourself what would happen if resources were reduced, deadlines shifted, or collaborators were unavailable. By anticipating possibilities and preparing flexible responses, you reduce the stress of unexpected events and increase your capacity to act decisively. Adaptability improves when you detach ego from outcomes. Pride or attachment to specific results often prevents flexibility. When a plan fails or conditions change, viewing the situation objectively rather than personally allows you to adjust strategies quickly. This perspective transforms setbacks into opportunities to learn and grow. Enhance problem-solving skills through iterative experimentation. Small, low-risk trials allow you to test alternative approaches and gather data about what works. Each attempt refines your understanding and informs the next step. Treat experimentation as a structured learning process rather than a gamble, and gradually your ability to respond to novel situations strengthens. Focus on developing transferable skills that remain useful regardless of context. Skills such as critical thinking, communication, emotional regulation, and planning are adaptable across environments. Strengthening these core abilities creates resilience because you can rely on them even when specific tools or methods become irrelevant. Flexibility grows through exposure to unfamiliar circumstances. Deliberately step into situations outside your routine. Travel to new places, engage with different communities, or take on tasks you have not done before. These experiences train your mind to process change, analyze uncertainty, and act confidently without prior experience. Time management plays a critical role in adaptability. When plans shift, the ability to reorganize priorities and reallocate energy efficiently determines success. Regularly practice reordering tasks, adjusting schedules, and reallocating resources in response to changing conditions. Over time, this becomes a natural skill rather than a forced adjustment. Build resilience into your thinking by reframing setbacks. When outcomes are disappointing, ask what can be learned, what resources remain, and what alternative approaches exist. Reframing transforms failure from a barrier into a guide, enabling you to respond rather than retreat. Maintain a habit of continuous learning. Adaptable individuals constantly acquire knowledge and skills to remain effective as circumstances evolve. Lifelong learning equips you to address challenges in unfamiliar situations because you expand the toolkit of approaches available. Read, observe, experiment, and seek guidance to maintain readiness for change. Strengthen adaptability through flexibility in goals. Long-term objectives remain important, but rigid attachment to precise methods can hinder progress. Set clear intentions but allow methods to shift as circumstances evolve. This balance preserves direction while granting freedom to innovate. Practice self-reflection regularly to assess your responses to change. Ask which strategies worked, which were ineffective, and which emotions influenced decision-making. Honest reflection reinforces learning and builds patterns of effective adaptation for future scenarios. Develop strong problem-framing skills. Correctly identifying the core issue of a changing situation prevents wasted effort. Avoid reacting to superficial symptoms. Analyze underlying factors, understand constraints, and focus on the points where action will produce the most meaningful results. Create mental routines that encourage flexibility. Techniques such as mindfulness, journaling, or scenario rehearsal prepare your mind for unexpected events. By training thought patterns to remain calm and analytical, you reduce the likelihood of rigidity under pressure. Learn to leverage resources effectively. Adaptable individuals can identify and use tools, information, and support systems quickly in changing circumstances. Knowing where to seek help, which options are available, and how to prioritize resources strengthens response capability. Adaptability is strengthened through collaboration. Working with others exposes you to alternative perspectives, ideas, and methods. Remaining open to their input and willing to adjust your approach builds collective flexibility while improving individual capability. Practice decisiveness within flexibility. Being adaptable does not mean indecision. Make informed choices rapidly with the understanding that revisions may be necessary. Acting with agility rather than hesitancy allows momentum to continue even when conditions fluctuate. Observe your limits and recover intentionally. Stress and fatigue reduce the capacity to adapt. Build routines that replenish energy and maintain clarity, such as exercise, nutrition, and structured breaks. Recovery ensures that adaptability remains sustainable rather than sporadic. Train cognitive reframing. Reinterpret challenges as opportunities to innovate or grow. This mental shift reduces resistance and fear, allowing action rather than avoidance. Reframing makes the mind more receptive to change and enhances problem-solving capacity. Strengthen adaptability by simplifying decision-making frameworks. Establish clear criteria for evaluating options quickly. When conditions change, simple, robust frameworks prevent paralysis by complexity and allow rapid, confident adjustment. Recognize that change often precedes growth. By embracing new circumstances as natural catalysts for development, you view disruptions as essential parts of your progress rather than obstacles. This perspective reduces fear and encourages proactive engagement. Develop anticipation skills by analyzing trends and signals in your environment. Notice shifts in behavior, market conditions, or personal dynamics early to adjust strategy before crises emerge. Anticipation increases reaction time and reduces the stress of urgent change. Finally, treat adaptability as a deliberate practice rather than a passive trait. Build habits, routines, and perspectives that embrace change, encourage learning, and promote flexibility. Combine reflection, observation, skill development, emotional regulation, and proactive planning to thrive under uncertainty. Mastering adaptability ensures that when circumstances evolve, you respond with clarity, efficiency, and resilience, transforming challenges into opportunities and maintaining consistent progress in all areas of life. Chapter 16c. Focus energy to complete important tasks efficiently. Focusing energy is the practice of directing mental and physical resources toward tasks that truly matter while minimizing distractions. The ability to concentrate deeply on important work determines productivity, efficiency, and the quality of outcomes. Energy is finite, and scattering it across multiple low-impact activities dilutes results and increases fatigue. By training yourself to harness energy deliberately, you complete work faster, make better decisions, and create space for higher-level thinking and creativity. Start by identifying tasks that have the greatest impact on your goals. Not all tasks are equally important. Prioritize based on results rather than urgency. Use criteria such as contribution to long-term objectives, deadlines that cannot shift, and tasks that unlock further progress. When you know what matters most, your energy flows purposefully rather than diffusely. Break larger tasks into actionable steps. When a project feels overwhelming, energy is often wasted in hesitation or anxiety. Divide it into clear sub-tasks with specific outcomes and time estimates. Completing smaller components releases a sense of accomplishment, sustaining momentum and focus. Each small step reinforces confidence and maintains attention on what matters. Manage your environment to support deep focus. Remove distractions such as notifications, unnecessary devices, or background noise. Organize tools and materials so they are within reach, preventing interruptions that scatter energy. A clean, intentional workspace signals the brain that it is time to concentrate. Environmental design transforms scattered attention into sustained engagement. Control mental energy by managing your thoughts. Avoid mental clutter by keeping a running list of pending tasks and ideas outside the immediate focus. Use journals or digital tools to capture thoughts rather than letting them compete for attention while you work. When the mind is organized, attention is directed efficiently and energy is preserved for execution. Use time blocking to structure work sessions. Allocate uninterrupted periods for important tasks and honor those blocks as if they were appointments. Working in focused intervals reduces the temptation to multitask, which drains energy and decreases efficiency. Time blocking aligns mental effort with task priorities, creating consistent progress. Build rituals that signal the start of focus. Simple actions such as clearing the desk, taking a deep breath, or reviewing the task list condition the mind to engage fully. Rituals create mental readiness and reduce the friction of starting, turning preparation into an automatic pathway to concentration. Train the mind to resist distractions actively. Practice noticing wandering thoughts without judgment and returning attention to the task. Meditation, mindfulness exercises, or short focus drills strengthen this skill. Over time, the ability to return quickly to the work at hand enhances efficiency and prevents energy from leaking into unproductive areas. Leverage the peak energy periods of your day. Notice when mental clarity, alertness, and stamina are highest and schedule high-priority tasks during these windows. Aligning effort with natural rhythms maximizes output and reduces the struggle against fatigue. Low energy periods can be used for routine or maintenance work that requires less mental intensity. Use single tasking rather than multitasking. Switching between tasks splits attention and incurs cognitive costs that reduce overall efficiency. Commit fully to one task until completion or a natural pause point. Single tasking cultivates deep work, preserves energy, and produces higher quality results. Set clear boundaries for energy allocation. Avoid overcommitting to low-priority obligations or social interactions that drain mental resources unnecessarily. Saying no strategically preserves capacity for meaningful tasks and ensures energy is directed toward growth and impact rather than distractions. Incorporate brief recovery periods. Continuous effort without breaks diminishes attention and efficiency. Short pauses, stretches, or controlled breathing exercises restore focus and prevent mental fatigue. Structuring work with micro rests enhances sustained energy, ensuring peak performance across longer sessions. Use accountability mechanisms to maintain focus. Share progress with a trusted colleague, mentor, or digital tool that tracks task completion. External accountability reinforces commitment and encourages consistent energy investment in essential work rather than procrastination. Develop clarity on the why behind each task. Understanding purpose energizes attention and prevents energy from being wasted on mechanical execution without engagement. Connect tasks to meaningful outcomes, personal growth, or long-term objectives to create intrinsic motivation that powers focus. Practice prioritizing by effort versus impact. Identify tasks that consume disproportionate energy relative to benefit and adjust or delegate them. Investing energy where return is highest amplifies results without unnecessary strain. Efficient energy allocation balances workload with meaningful outcomes. Minimize decision fatigue. Pre-plan choices such as clothing, meals, or minor routines to preserve cognitive energy for high-value tasks. Decision fatigue reduces focus, and minimizing trivial decisions reserves attention for areas that truly require concentrated effort. Record progress visibly to maintain motivation and energy alignment. Checking completed items off a list, marking milestones, or visually tracking time spent fosters a sense of accomplishment and reinforces engagement with essential tasks. Tangible evidence of work directs energy efficiently toward further action. Practice mindful transitions between tasks. Avoid carrying stress, distractions, or residual focus from one task into another. Clear mental transitions refresh attention and prevent energy from diffusing across multiple mental targets. Simple routines, such as brief reflection or deep breaths between tasks, help preserve focus. Engage physical energy strategically. Movement, posture, and breathing influence mental clarity. Short walks, posture adjustments, or conscious breathing exercises increase alertness and reinforce mental stamina. Aligning body and mind optimizes energy use for demanding tasks. Eliminate perfectionism during task execution. Excessive focus on flawless output consumes disproportionate energy and slows progress. Aim for effective, high-quality results that advance objectives rather than waiting for impossibility. Efficiency arises from completing tasks fully, not perfectly. Recognize energy-draining triggers. Identify interruptions, emotional distractions, or unproductive thought patterns that sap attention. Apply countermeasures such as blocking digital notifications, setting physical boundaries, or practicing mental redirection to maintain energy where it matters most. Use visualization to prepare for focused sessions. Mentally rehearsing task steps or desired outcomes primes attention, reduces friction in execution, and conserves cognitive energy. Visualization strengthens intention and directs energy efficiently from the outset. Regularly review outcomes versus effort invested. Reflect on whether energy allocation aligns with priorities and adjust accordingly. Continuous calibration ensures that mental and physical resources remain concentrated on tasks that advance meaningful goals. Adopt incremental progress over prolonged effort without direction. Continuous small accomplishments maintain momentum, prevent exhaustion, and allow energy to compound toward completion. Small wins fuel motivation and reinforce concentration habits. Finally, focus energy as a skill to be cultivated through deliberate practice. By identifying priorities, structuring work, managing mental and physical resources, minimizing distractions, and monitoring progress, energy transforms into a consistent engine for productivity. Efficient focus enables you to complete important tasks decisively, maintain clarity under pressure, and produce high-quality outcomes without unnecessary waste, establishing a foundation for ongoing growth and achievement in every area of life. Chapter 17c. Cultivate discipline to achieve goals faster than before. Discipline is the engine that transforms intention into achievement. It is the deliberate commitment to act consistently, even when motivation wanes or challenges arise. Goals remain ideas until disciplined action converts them into results. Cultivating discipline allows you to accelerate progress, maintain focus, and ensure that every effort contributes directly to meaningful outcomes. It is less about strength of will in isolated moments and more about building habits and systems that produce steady results over time. Start by defining clear goals. Discipline is most effective when you know precisely what you are working toward. Break goals into measurable, actionable components. When the objective is specific, you can design routines and habits that directly contribute to its completion. Ambiguous goals dilute effort and make consistency more difficult to maintain. Establish a daily routine that prioritizes high-impact tasks. Discipline thrives in structure because it reduces decision fatigue and minimizes wasted energy. When key actions are scheduled at the same time each day, you remove uncertainty and create predictable pathways for consistent progress. Over time, the routine itself reinforces disciplined behavior. Commit to starting before motivation appears. Motivation is inconsistent and cannot be relied upon alone. Discipline fills the gap when enthusiasm fades. Taking the first step, even when you do not feel inspired, creates momentum. Each completed action strengthens the habit of showing up, which compounds into faster achievement of goals. Implement systems that guide behavior automatically. Use checklists, reminders, and accountability tools to reduce reliance on fleeting willpower. Systems ensure that your actions are predictable, measurable, and aligned with objectives. They act as frameworks that channel effort efficiently, making disciplined behavior the default rather than an occasional effort. Remove friction for essential tasks and increase friction for distractions. Simplify access to the tools, information, and environment needed for productive work. Simultaneously, make distractions less convenient by turning off notifications, limiting access to time-consuming apps, or creating physical barriers to non-essential activities. Reducing barriers to progress and increasing barriers to procrastination reinforces discipline. Practice delayed gratification. Discipline often requires prioritizing long-term benefits over short-term comfort. Training yourself to resist immediate impulses strengthens the capacity to focus on goals with patience and persistence. The ability to endure temporary discomfort is a direct contributor to accelerated results. Track progress regularly. Monitoring actions, outcomes, and time invested creates visibility into effort and performance. Discipline is strengthened when you see consistent results, and accountability grows when gaps are apparent. Adjust routines based on performance to maximize efficiency and maintain steady advancement toward objectives. Break tasks into manageable segments. Large goals can overwhelm and discourage consistent effort. By dividing objectives into smaller, actionable steps, discipline becomes practical and sustainable. Each completed segment builds confidence and reinforces the habit of persistent action. Use time, blocking, and focused work intervals. Allocate dedicated periods for specific tasks and guard them rigorously. Concentrated effort enhances productivity and ensures that discipline is applied where it matters most. Structured work periods prevent diffusion of energy and support rapid goal attainment. Develop self-awareness to identify resistance points. Notice moments when procrastination, distraction, or fatigue reduce your ability to act. Recognize the triggers and implement strategies to counter them, such as adjusting the environment, taking brief recovery breaks, or reminding yourself of the purpose behind the task. Awareness converts weakness into actionable insight. Strengthen accountability through external structures. Share goals with mentors, peers, or supportive communities that encourage consistent follow-through. Public commitment increases responsibility and reduces the likelihood of abandoning tasks, reinforcing disciplined behavior. Anchor discipline in identity rather than desire. Internalize statements such as "I am a person who takes action daily," or "I am someone who follows through on commitments." Identity-based discipline relies on self-perception rather than fluctuating motivation, creating a stable foundation for long-term goal achievement. Automate repetitive actions when possible. Habits formed through repetition reduce the cognitive load needed to maintain discipline. Identify tasks that can be standardized or scheduled, allowing focus to remain on high-value work. Repetition transforms effort into instinctive behavior, accelerating goal attainment. Practice reflection to refine discipline. At the end of each day or week, review what was accomplished, what obstacles appeared, and what can be adjusted. Reflection enhances awareness of patterns, strengthens learning from mistakes, and fine-tunes routines for higher efficiency. Anticipate challenges before they arise. Consider obstacles that might disrupt progress and prepare strategies in advance. By planning for contingencies, you maintain consistent action even when circumstances change unexpectedly. Adaptation combined with structured discipline ensures uninterrupted forward momentum. Develop mental endurance through consistent practice. Discipline is reinforced by repeated engagement, especially when tasks are difficult or unpleasant. Persisting through discomfort trains the mind to accept effort as necessary and inevitable, strengthening long-term capacity to act toward goals. Prioritize tasks by impact. Focus energy and attention on actions that produce the greatest results relative to effort. Discipline applied to high-impact work accelerates progress and prevents wasted effort on low-value activities. This strategic approach ensures that every act of self-control moves objectives forward efficiently. Use immediate feedback to adjust course. Evaluate outcomes of disciplined actions in real time and refine strategies accordingly. Quick adaptation based on feedback prevents wasted effort and strengthens learning, allowing progress to continue without unnecessary delay. Balance intensity with recovery. Discipline is not relentless force, but a sustainable application of effort. Incorporate rest, physical activity, and mental rejuvenation to maintain high energy and prevent burnout. Sustained action over time is more effective than short bursts of overexertion followed by collapse. Cultivate patience alongside discipline. Rapid results are rare, and persistence over time is essential. Recognize that daily effort accumulates into significant progress. Patience ensures that discipline remains consistent even when immediate results are not visible. Maintain clarity of purpose. Revisit goals and underlying reasons frequently. Awareness of why a task matters strengthens commitment and provides motivation when effort feels difficult. Clear purpose aligns actions with values, reinforcing disciplined behavior naturally. Train focus to accompany discipline. Avoid multitasking and fragmentation of attention. Deep, uninterrupted engagement ensures that effort translates into results. Concentrated action magnifies the effectiveness of disciplined effort, allowing goals to be achieved faster. Finally, cultivate discipline as a system of consistent habits, structured routines, self-awareness, and purposeful action. Combine clarity of goals, deliberate planning, focus on high-impact work, and sustainable effort with reflection and accountability. This approach transforms potential into measurable achievement, allowing objectives to be reached efficiently, reliably, and at a pace faster than reliance on motivation alone could ever accomplish. Chapter 18 Zeng, refine communication to influence and connect with people. Communication is the bridge between understanding and influence, and the ability to connect deeply with others is one of the most transformative skills you can develop. Effective communication is not just about speaking clearly, it is about listening attentively, observing carefully, and expressing ideas in ways that resonate with others. Every interaction presents an opportunity to influence, inspire, and build relationships, but this requires conscious effort, awareness, and refinement of technique. The first step in refining communication is mastering active listening. Most people listen with the intent to respond, but true understanding comes from listening with the intent to comprehend. Focus fully on the speaker, observe tone, pace, and body language, and absorb the meaning behind the words. When you listen deeply, you respond more thoughtfully and your words carry more weight because they reflect genuine understanding. Observe non-verbal signals closely. Body language, facial expressions, and gestures often reveal emotions and intentions that words alone cannot convey. Noticing these cues allows you to adjust your responses appropriately, create empathy, and avoid misinterpretation. By aligning your verbal and non-verbal communication, your presence becomes more authentic and trustworthy. Simplify your message for clarity. People absorb information best when it is concise, specific, and free from unnecessary complexity. Avoid over-explaining or relying on jargon. Direct statements and clear explanations reduce confusion and enhance the impact of your words. Every word should serve a purpose in conveying your intent. Adapt your communication style to the audience. Different people respond to different tones, levels of detail, and methods of explanation. Observe preferences, emotional states, and cultural contexts and adjust accordingly. Flexibility in style ensures that your message is received rather than ignored, increasing influence and connection. Develop empathy in conversation. Seek to understand the perspective, needs, and feelings of others. When people feel understood, they are more receptive, open, and cooperative. Empathy creates trust and establishes a foundation for meaningful connection, allowing communication to become a tool for collaboration rather than conflict. Practice articulation and voice control. How you speak, tone, pace, and volume affects how your words are perceived. A calm, confident voice conveys authority, while varying tone emphasizes key points and maintains attention. Articulate words deliberately to ensure meaning is clear and intention is unmistakable. Ask purposeful questions to encourage dialogue. Thoughtful questions show interest and provide insight into the other person's perspective. Open-ended questions invite discussion, while precise questions clarify understanding. Effective questioning deepens conversation, builds rapport, and demonstrates active engagement. Develop patience in communication. Avoid interrupting or rushing responses. Allow space for others to express their thoughts fully before responding. Pausing briefly after someone speaks signals attentiveness and gives you time to craft considered, impactful responses rather than reactive ones. Refine storytelling abilities. Humans are wired to respond to narratives. Presenting ideas through brief, relevant stories creates connection, makes information memorable, and engages emotions. Stories illustrate points in ways that abstract explanations often cannot, making your communication more persuasive and relatable. Manage emotional regulation during interactions. Communication is not only about the words spoken but also the emotional climate you create. Respond calmly even under provocation or disagreement. Emotionally grounded communication demonstrates maturity, encourages cooperation, and increases credibility. Develop precision in written communication. Email, text, and digital messages require clarity and brevity. Use concise sentences, clear structure, and precise language to convey meaning without ambiguity. Effective written communication complements verbal skills and ensures your influence extends beyond immediate conversations. Observe and emulate effective communicators. Study speakers, leaders, and colleagues whose communication resonates. Notice their timing, choice of words, and ability to convey emotion. Integrate techniques that align with your personality while maintaining authenticity, accelerating your own communication growth. Eliminate assumptions when interpreting messages. Misunderstandings often arise from presuming intent or meaning. Clarify, confirm, and ask when unsure. Approaching communication with humility and verification reduces errors, builds trust, and improves clarity in interactions. Focus on building connection before persuading. Influence is more effective when people feel a genuine connection. Prioritize understanding, respect, and shared values. Once connection exists, your ability to communicate ideas persuasively becomes more natural and accepted. Use feedback to improve communication. Observe responses, body language, and engagement levels to assess effectiveness. Seek direct feedback when appropriate and apply insights to refine approach. Continual adjustment strengthens clarity, influence, and relational impact. Practice assertiveness without aggression. State ideas, needs, and boundaries confidently while respecting others. Assertive communication balances strength and empathy, ensuring messages are taken seriously while maintaining cooperative relationships. Enhance listening through paraphrasing and summarizing. Reflecting back what you heard confirms understanding and demonstrates attention. This method prevents miscommunication and builds trust, showing the other person that their perspective matters. Maintain focus during conversations. Avoid distractions, multitasking, or mental drift. Undivided attention signals respect and increases the likelihood that your words are received with clarity and seriousness. Focused presence strengthens both influence and connection. Recognize timing and context in communication. Deliver messages when they are most likely to be understood and well received. Being aware of emotional states, environmental factors, and the appropriate medium enhances the impact of your words. Timing can transform ordinary statements into compelling, actionable communication. Balance listening and speaking. Communication is a cycle of input and output. Ensure you do not dominate conversations or retreat entirely into silence. Equilibrium fosters trust, mutual understanding, and cooperative engagement. Apply active observation to group dynamics. Notice patterns of interaction, dominant voices, and unspoken tensions. Tailor communication to foster inclusion, engagement, and effective collaboration. Awareness of group context enhances clarity, influence, and the ability to connect broadly. Practice reflection after conversations. Evaluate what worked, what could be improved, and how others responded. Reflection enhances skill over time and ensures continuous improvement in communication effectiveness. Develop confidence in delivering messages. Confidence, grounded in preparation and understanding, conveys credibility and authority. People are more likely to listen and act when the speaker projects assurance without arrogance. Use repetition strategically to reinforce key points. Important ideas benefit from restatement in different ways throughout a conversation. Repetition increases retention, comprehension, and influence, ensuring essential messages are recognized and remembered. Cultivate curiosity about people. Genuine interest in others' experiences, ideas, and perspectives enriches interactions. Curiosity enhances engagement, provides insight, and strengthens relational bonds, making communication more meaningful and impactful. Finally, refine communication as a deliberate practice encompassing active listening, empathy, observation, clarity, adaptability, and reflection. By combining these elements with patience, assertiveness, and confidence, you create connections that inspire trust, understanding, and influence. Effective communication allows ideas to be conveyed clearly, relationships to be strengthened, and impact to be maximized in every personal and professional interaction. Chapter 19a. Expand curiosity to discover new opportunities constantly. Curiosity is the driving force behind discovery, growth, and opportunity. It opens doors that routine and familiarity often keep closed. When you approach life with a mindset of exploration, you constantly uncover new possibilities, insights, and solutions that others may overlook. Expanding curiosity requires intention, observation, and the courage to venture beyond comfort zones. It is not simply asking questions, but actively seeking to understand, experiment, and apply what you learn in practical ways. Begin by questioning assumptions. Many opportunities are hidden behind conventional thinking and habitual patterns. Examine your beliefs, routines, and choices regularly. Ask why things are done in a certain way and whether there is a better approach. This practice uncovers alternative paths that may lead to innovation and personal growth. Observe the world attentively. Curiosity is fueled by noticing details, patterns, and anomalies that others often ignore. Pay attention to the way people behave, how systems operate, and how problems arise and resolve. Observation without judgment provides the raw material for insight and creative thinking. Develop a habit of asking meaningful questions. Instead of accepting information at face value, inquire deeper. Ask what, how, and why. Explore possibilities that challenge conventional wisdom. Questions generate exploration, and exploration leads to discovery. Every unanswered question is an opportunity for learning and growth. Seek diverse perspectives actively. Surround yourself with individuals from different backgrounds, experiences, and skill sets. Engaging with perspectives different from your own broadens understanding and reveals opportunities that would remain hidden within a limited viewpoint. Diversity stimulates curiosity and encourages innovation. Experiment with small, low-risk projects. Curiosity grows when applied practically. Test new ideas, methods, or routines without fear of failure. Each experiment provides feedback, teaches lessons, and often reveals avenues you would not have imagined otherwise. The act of experimenting keeps your mind agile and receptive to new opportunities. Read widely and intentionally. Exposure to diverse subjects, industries, and ideas expands the range of what you know and what you can connect. Books, articles, and research provide the foundation for curiosity by presenting frameworks and knowledge that can spark questions and insights in unexpected areas. Practice reflection to deepen understanding. After engaging with new ideas or experiences, pause to consider implications, patterns, and applications. Reflection transforms raw observation into actionable insight. It strengthens the mind's ability to connect concepts and recognize opportunities across different domains. Embrace uncertainty as an invitation to explore. Fear of the unknown often limits curiosity. Train yourself to view uncertainty not as a threat, but as a space for discovery. When challenges arise, focus on questions rather than obstacles. This mindset opens possibilities instead of shutting them down. Maintain a sense of wonder in everyday life. Small details, interactions, and environments contain lessons and inspiration. Observing with curiosity transforms ordinary experiences into opportunities for insight. By noticing nuances in common situations, you develop an ability to spot potential that others overlook. Leverage technology to expand learning and exploration. Use digital resources to access knowledge, communities, and tools that amplify your capacity to discover. Online courses, forums, and networks provide exposure to concepts and perspectives beyond your immediate environment, feeding curiosity and creating new avenues for opportunity. Document discoveries and ideas consistently. Keep a journal or digital record of observations, questions, and insights. Revisiting accumulated knowledge stimulates further exploration and allows you to connect dots that were previously invisible. Documentation strengthens memory, analysis, and creativity. Practice resilience in the pursuit of knowledge. Curiosity often leads to questions with delayed answers. The path of discovery includes trial, error, and occasional frustration. Maintaining persistence ensures that curiosity transforms into tangible opportunities rather than fading under initial obstacles. Observe patterns across disciplines. Connections between unrelated fields often reveal unique solutions and approaches. By cultivating a habit of comparing processes, ideas, and results across contexts, you increase the likelihood of discovering innovative strategies and unexplored opportunities. Engage actively with problems rather than avoiding them. Challenges are invitations for exploration and discovery. Analyzing problems from multiple angles uncovers hidden opportunities for improvement, innovation, and personal growth. Curiosity thrives when approached with proactive investigation rather than passive observation. Ask feedback from others to gain new insights. Dialogue expands understanding and reveals areas you may have overlooked. Constructive feedback challenges assumptions, sparks questions, and stimulates further inquiry. Curiosity is amplified when combined with the perspectives of those outside your own experience. Stay open to serendipity. Many discoveries emerge unexpectedly when curiosity intersects with opportunity. Engage fully with new experiences and remain attentive to subtle cues that may guide you toward insights, connections, and solutions you could not predict in advance. Balance depth and breadth in exploration. While deep knowledge in a particular area is valuable, exploring multiple domains fosters cross-pollination of ideas. Exposure to different disciplines, industries, and concepts increases the ability to connect insights in ways that create unique opportunities. Develop a mindset of lifelong learning. Curiosity is sustained when learning is viewed as continuous rather than finite. Commit to regular skill acquisition, knowledge expansion, and exploration of new perspectives. Lifelong learning ensures that curiosity remains active and that opportunities continue to be uncovered throughout life. Challenge your comfort zones consistently. Curiosity is fueled by new experiences and perspectives that disrupt routine. Engage with situations that feel unfamiliar, take on tasks outside your expertise, and interact with people you would not normally encounter. These actions stimulate questioning, observation, and insight, generating opportunities for personal and professional growth. Monitor and measure the results of exploration. Observe which experiments, questions, and efforts lead to meaningful insights or actionable opportunities. Analyzing results refines the process of discovery and guides future exploration. Structured curiosity ensures energy is focused on avenues with the highest potential impact. Recognize that curiosity is not passive but an active pursuit. It requires deliberate attention, questioning, and engagement. By consistently seeking to understand more, observing attentively, experimenting deliberately, and reflecting thoughtfully, curiosity transforms into a tool for uncovering opportunities that expand influence, knowledge, and achievement. Finally, cultivate curiosity as a daily practice. Approach every experience, interaction, and challenge with openness and intentional inquiry. Question assumptions, seek new perspectives, test ideas, and observe deeply. Over time, this persistent curiosity becomes a habit, continually revealing opportunities that propel growth, innovation, and meaningful accomplishment across every area of life. Chapter 12. Live Master Reflection to improve yourself every single day. Reflection is the practice of looking inward to understand your actions, decisions, and experiences in order to grow continuously. It is the process of examining what occurred, why it occurred, and how it can be improved in the future. Without reflection, experiences pass by as events with no learning, and mistakes repeat unnecessarily. Mastering reflection allows you to refine judgment, increase self-awareness, and improve effectiveness in every aspect of life. Start by reviewing each day intentionally. Set aside dedicated time to consider what was accomplished, what challenges arose, and how you responded. Focus not on self-criticism, but on understanding patterns and identifying opportunities for growth. Daily reflection builds clarity, prevents repeated errors, and encourages incremental improvement. Ask critical questions about your decisions. Examine why you chose a particular course of action, what alternatives existed, and what the outcomes were. This habit sharpens your ability to make better choices in the future because it transforms experiences into lessons rather than just events. Record insights in writing. Journaling captures observations, thoughts, and feelings that might otherwise be forgotten. Writing encourages deeper analysis, organizes thinking, and creates a reference to track progress over time. Reviewing previous entries reveals patterns, recurring challenges, and areas of improvement, providing a roadmap for growth. Evaluate emotional responses honestly. Consider how emotions influence decisions, interactions, and behavior. Understanding the triggers and effects of your emotional state improves self-control, strengthens resilience, and allows you to respond more effectively in similar situations. Emotional insight is essential for thoughtful, deliberate action. Analyze successes as thoroughly as mistakes. Reflection is not only about identifying failures, but also about recognizing what worked well. Understanding the reasons behind success allows replication and scaling of effective habits. Appreciating achievements reinforces confidence while providing clarity on effective strategies. Seek feedback from others as part of reflection. Input from colleagues, mentors, or trusted peers offers perspectives you may not have considered. Feedback highlights blind spots, confirms patterns, and can reveal solutions that personal observation alone might miss. Integrating external insights amplifies self-improvement. Identify recurring obstacles and patterns. Reflection reveals systemic issues in behavior, environment, or mindset. Recognizing these patterns allows deliberate intervention and adjustment. By addressing underlying causes rather than symptoms, improvement becomes sustainable and transformative. Break down goals into measurable components. Reflection includes examining progress toward objectives and whether actions align with intentions. By evaluating which steps moved you closer and which did not, you refine strategies and focus energy on the most effective actions. Continuous alignment accelerates achievement. Consider the long-term consequences of actions. Reflection involves not only assessing immediate outcomes, but also anticipating future effects. This mindset encourages decisions that balance short-term gain with long-term success, enhancing strategic thinking and personal responsibility. Incorporate mindfulness to enhance reflection. Awareness of thoughts, sensations, and mental patterns improves clarity and prevents biases from distorting analysis. Mindful reflection focuses attention on facts, insights, and actionable lessons rather than assumptions or emotional distortions. Use reflection to enhance problem-solving skills. Reviewing past challenges reveals what approaches were effective and what mistakes to avoid. By learning from experience, you develop the ability to approach new problems more creatively, efficiently, and confidently. Set actionable takeaways from every reflection session. Insight is valuable only when translated into practical steps. Identify specific behaviors, strategies, or adjustments to implement immediately. Consistent action based on reflection converts learning into tangible improvement. Practice reflection consistently. Sporadic reflection provides limited benefits, while habitual reflection creates momentum in personal development. Treat reflection as an essential part of daily routine, integrated seamlessly into the start or end of the day to ensure continual growth. Balance honesty with compassion. Reflection requires acknowledging mistakes and shortcomings, but harsh self-judgment inhibits learning. Approach evaluation with objectivity and kindness, focusing on growth rather than guilt. This approach maintains motivation and mental resilience. Examine interactions and relationships. Reflect on how you communicated, collaborated, and responded to others. Consider whether your actions fostered trust, understanding, and positive outcomes. Improving interpersonal effectiveness requires observing the impact of your behavior on others and making deliberate adjustments. Compare intentions with outcomes. Evaluate whether your actions aligned with your values and goals. Misalignment may indicate habits or assumptions that need correction. Ensuring consistency between intention and behavior strengthens integrity and accelerates personal growth. Reflect on time management and energy allocation. Consider how priorities were set and whether time and effort were invested wisely. Reflection identifies wasted energy, inefficiencies, and opportunities to optimize productivity. Conscious allocation enhances both performance and well-being. Consider alternative approaches to recurring challenges. Reflection is enhanced by exploring what could have been done differently. Imagining different strategies prepares you to respond more effectively when similar situations arise in the future. This builds flexibility and problem-solving confidence. Celebrate lessons learned. Reflection should recognize growth and resilience, not only shortcomings. Acknowledging progress reinforces positive habits and sustains motivation, ensuring that reflection drives consistent improvement rather than discouragement. Integrate reflection with goal setting. Use insights gained from examining past actions to inform future objectives. This practice ensures that planning is rooted in reality, aligned with strengths, and responsive to past challenges. Reflection converts experience into actionable strategy. Use reflection to cultivate self-awareness. Deep understanding of personal tendencies, biases, and triggers improves decision-making, communication, and relationships. Self-awareness is the foundation for continuous improvement because it allows deliberate adjustments in behavior. Develop a questioning mindset. Always seek to understand the reasons behind outcomes, not merely the outcomes themselves. Why did a strategy succeed or fail? Why did a reaction occur in a particular way? Inquiry-driven reflection uncovers root causes and produces actionable insights. Implement reflection at multiple levels. Reflect on daily tasks, weekly progress, and long-term goals. This layered approach ensures both immediate adjustments and strategic alignment with overarching objectives. Reflection becomes a tool for both tactical efficiency and long-term development. Finally, master reflection as an active and intentional practice that transforms experiences into growth, mistakes into lessons, and ordinary actions into deliberate improvement. By consistently observing, analyzing, and adjusting your behavior, emotions, and decisions, you create a framework for continuous self-enhancement. Reflection becomes the foundation for greater clarity, wiser choices, stronger habits, and measurable advancement in every area of life.